The expensive watch on Ethan Parker's wrist felt heavier than usual as he watched the homeless woman and her 2 children huddled beneath the highway overpass, their makeshift shelter just yards from his latest real estate acquisition. Something about the woman's determined gaze as she helped her children with homework, despite their circumstances, stirred a memory Ethan had spent 15 years and billions of dollars trying to forget. He pulled his luxury car to the curb, the contract he'd just manipulated from the ruthless developer Hunter Mills still warm in his briefcase. A perfectly executed con that would make him millions, but suddenly felt hollow. Sometimes the greatest act of justice comes from the most unexpected source, Ethan whispered to himself, his fingers already dialing his lawyer's number with a plan that would change multiple lives forever. What shocking truth about Ethan's past would lead this notorious conman to give away a fortune? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories of redemption and second chances. Earlier that day, Ethan had sat across from Hunter Mills in the developer's sleek downtown office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city Ethan had spent years manipulating to his advantage. "Congratulations, Parker." Hunter's smile didn't reach his eyes as he slid the signed contract across the polished mahogany table. "Though I can't shake the feeling you've somehow gotten the better end of this deal." Ethan's face revealed nothing as he tucked the document into his briefcase. "Business is business, Mills. We both got what we wanted." What Hunter didn't know was that Ethan had orchestrated a complex web of misinformation about the land's zoning potential. Through shell companies and carefully placed leaks, he'd convinced Hunter the property had limited development options. In reality, a rezoning approval was practically guaranteed, which would triple the land's value overnight. "I suppose we did," Hunter said, rising to his feet. His expensive suit couldn't hide the predatory nature beneath. "Though I still don't understand your interest in that particular area. It's hardly your usual market." "Diversification," Ethan replied smoothly. "Something you might consider before your next project displaces another 100 families." Hunter's expression hardened. "Don't pretend you're any different, Parker. We both know your reputation. At least I'm honest about what I do." The words stung more than Ethan expected. He maintained his composed facade as he stood to leave. But something about Hunter's accusation lingered uncomfortably. Outside, Ethan's assistant Sophia waited by his car. "Everything go as planned?" she asked, opening the door. "Perfectly," Ethan replied. Though his usual post-victory satisfaction was noticeably absent, Sophia studied him carefully. "You know what day it is next week, don't you?" Ethan stiffened. "Schedule cleared as usual. Already done," she said softly. 15 years, isn't it?" Ethan didn't answer, staring instead at the city through the tinted windows of his car as they pulled away from Hunter's building. Back at his office, Ethan reviewed the paperwork for his latest acquisition. The numbers were impressive, the profit margins extraordinary, yet he found himself distracted, his gaze repeatedly drawn to the calendar on his desk. April 18th, 15 years since Michael had died. 15 years since Ethan had failed his younger brother. His phone buzzed with a message from Hunter. "Just heard an interesting rumor about you, Parker. We might need to revisit our agreement." Ethan set the phone down. Hunter was always searching for leverage, always looking for an angle. It was the nature of their business. But today, the game felt exhausting. "Mr. Parker?" His secretary's voice came through the intercom. "Your 4 o'clock canceled. You're clear for the rest of the day. Thank you, Claire." Ethan sat alone in his office, surrounded by the trappings of his success. Awards, photographs with politicians and celebrities, views of the city he'd helped reshape through his investments and developments. Empty, all of it. He opened his desk drawer and removed a small, worn photograph. 2 boys. One a teenager with serious eyes, the other younger, smiling widely at the camera. Behind them stood a modest house, nothing like the mansion Ethan now owned. He returned the photo to its hiding place and decided to drive home early. The route would take him past his newest acquisition, the land he'd just purchased from Hunter at a fraction of its true value. As his driver navigated the city streets, Ethan barely noticed the gleaming buildings and busy intersections. His mind was elsewhere, caught between past and present, between the man he'd become and the brother he'd failed to save. It was only when they passed under the highway overpass that something caught his eye, a flash of determination on a tired face. A woman helping 2 children with schoolbooks despite having nothing but a makeshift shelter to call home. "Stop the car," Ethan commanded suddenly. His driver pulled over and Ethan sat watching the small family, the way the woman encouraged her children, the serious expression of the boy, protective of his sister and mother. the little girl's smile. Despite their circumstances, something broke open inside him, a feeling he'd spent 15 years suppressing. The gates of Ethan's estate swung open silently, admitting his car to the winding driveway lined with perfectly maintained trees. The mansion loomed ahead, 14,000 square feet of architectural perfection that had been featured in Design magazines and celebrity home tours. Empty rooms waiting for a man who had everything and nothing. "Will you be needing anything else tonight, Mr. Parker?" his driver asked as they pulled up to the entrance. "No, thank you, James. I'll see you tomorrow." The massive front door opened before Ethan reached it. Mrs. Chen, his housekeeper of 20 years, stood waiting. "You're home early," she observed, her keen eyes missing nothing. "Dinner isn't ready yet." "That's fine. I'm not particularly hungry." She clicked her tongue disapprovingly. "You never are anymore. I'll bring you some tea in your study." Mrs. Chen had been with him since before the money, before the success. She'd been their housekeeper when his parents were alive, had stayed through their deaths, had watched Ethan transform from a grieving teenager into a billionaire businessman, and she was the only person who still spoke to him like the boy she remembered. Ethan made his way to his study, a room designed to impress with its rare first editions and antique desk. He sat heavily in his leather chair, the events of the day weighing on him more than usual. The homeless family under the overpass, the anniversary approaching, Hunter's veiled threats. He opened the bottom drawer of his desk and removed a small metal box. Inside lay a child's toy, a small red car, paint-chipped, one wheel slightly bent. He turned it over in his hand, feeling its familiar weight. "Your tea," Mrs. Chen announced, setting down a tray. She paused when she saw what he was holding. "It's that time of year again." It wasn't a question. 15 years, Ethan said quietly. Mrs. Chen sat in the chair across from him, a liberty no one else would dare take. "Michael wouldn't recognize you now." The words stung as she had intended them to. "He'd be proud of what you've accomplished," she continued more gently. Ethan placed the toy car back in its box. "Would he? I'm not so sure." "No," Mrs. Chen agreed. After a moment, "Perhaps not proud of everything, but he loved you. That never changed even at the end." Ethan closed his eyes. "I saw a family today, living under the overpass near the West Side property." "Ah." Mrs. Chen nodded as if this explained his mood. "And the mother? Was she young? Mid-30s maybe. 2 children, like your mother." Ethan opened his eyes. "I suppose. You've built quite a fortress around yourself, Ethan Parker," Mrs. Chen said, rising to her feet. "Walls of money and power. But ghosts don't care about walls, they walk right through." After she left, Ethan sipped his tea and stared at the toy car. Michael had carried it everywhere as a child. It had been in his pocket the day they buried their parents, and somehow it had found its way back to Ethan after Michael's own funeral. A small, painful reminder of everything he had lost, everything he had failed to protect. That night, sleep eluded him as it often did. Ethan wandered through his empty mansion, past rooms furnished for guests who never came, past art purchased for walls he rarely looked at. In the kitchen he found Mrs. Chen preparing tomorrow's meals. "You should be asleep," he said. "As should you." She continued chopping vegetables without looking up. "Your brother comes to you in dreams this time of year." It wasn't a question, and Ethan didn't bother denying it. The nightmares were always the same: Michael, thin and desperate, reaching out for help. Ethan turning away, too focused on his own ambitions, his own pain. "I saw him last week," Mrs. Chen said quietly. Ethan froze. "Who?" "Michael. In my dreams. He was worried about you." Mrs. Chen. I know. You don't believe in such things." She waved a hand dismissively. "But in my country we know the dead watch over us, especially those with unfinished business." Ethan didn't reply. There was too much unfinished business between him and Michael. Too many words unsaid. Too many chances missed. "The family you saw today," Mrs. Chen said, changing the subject. "What will you do about them?" "Do? Nothing. What could I do?" Mrs. Chen gave him a look that made him feel like a child again. "You, who manipulate millions with a phone call, who bend powerful men like Hunter Mills to your will, suddenly you can do nothing?" Ethan turned away, uncomfortable with her scrutiny. "It's not my responsibility." "No," she agreed. "Just as Michael was not your responsibility. We all make our choices, Ethan Parker." He left without responding, her words following him back to his bedroom where dreams of Michael waited. This time, though, another face joined the familiar nightmare. The determined mother from under the overpass, her children huddled close as snow began to fall around them in his dream. Ethan woke at dawn, his decision already made. Maya Wilson woke before dawn, her back aching from another night on the thin foam pad that served as her bed. She'd given the slightly thicker sleeping bags to her children, as always. Around them, the makeshift shelter of tarps and cardboard provided minimal protection from the elements, but it was all they had. "Mom," Noah's voice came from the darkness. At 10, he'd become far too serious, far too aware of their circumstances. "Go back to sleep, sweetheart," Maya whispered. "It's early yet. I heard someone walking around last night." Maya tensed. Their spot under the overpass wasn't safe. Nowhere was, really. But they'd managed to avoid the worst dangers so far. Probably just someone passing through. It was that man again, the one in the fancy car. Maya remembered the sleek black vehicle that had stopped yesterday, the man watching them from behind tinted windows. Something about it had unsettled her, though he hadn't approached or threatened them. "If he comes back, we'll find another spot," she promised. "I don't want to move again," came 8-year-old Lily's sleepy voice. "I like being near my school." Maya stroked her daughter's hair. "I know, baby. We'll figure it out." The first hint of daylight filtered through the tarps. Maya checked her watch. A gift from her nursing colleagues on her graduation day, one of the few possessions she'd managed to keep. 5:30. Time to start their day. "Up and at 'em, troops," she announced with forced cheerfulness. "Noah, you've got that math quiz today, remember? And Lily, it's your turn to present your drawing in art class." The routine was sacred to Maya. Wake up, fold, and store their bedding in the waterproof containers she'd salvaged from a restaurant dumpster. Morning hygiene with bottled water and the travel toothbrush set from the shelter. Breakfast. Today it was granola bars and apples, carefully rationed from the food pantry allocation. Then the most important part, getting her children ready for school. "Mom, my uniform shirt is dirty," Noah complained, holding up the white polo, with the faint stain that wouldn't come out from their last hand-washing session at the gas station bathroom. "Wear your sweater over it," Maya suggested. "No one will notice." While the children dressed, Maya allowed herself a moment of pure grief. How had they ended up here? 18 months ago, she'd been a respected nurse, married to David, living in a modest but comfortable home. Then came David's diagnosis: aggressive pancreatic cancer. 6 months of treatments that drained their savings and maxed out their insurance. Medical bills piling up alongside funeral expenses. She'd tried to keep working, but the grief and exhaustion led to mistakes. Not dangerous ones, but enough to put her on probation. Then came the layoffs, and she was the first to go. Without David's income or her steady job, the house went next. Then the car, then their dignity. "You look sad, Mommy," Lily said, her small hand touching Maya's face. Maya forced a smile. "Just thinking, sweetheart. Is your backpack ready?" While Noah took his role as man of the family seriously, Lily remained remarkably resilient. Her artwork, created from discarded paper and stubby pencils, transformed their situation into something almost magical. In Lily's drawings, their shelter became a cozy fort. The highway overhead, a protective castle wall. "I'm going to draw our new house today," Lily announced, zipping her worn backpack. "That's nice, honey," Maya said, her heart breaking a little more. "It's going to have big windows and a garden, and everybody gets their own room." Noah rolled his eyes but didn't contradict his sister. At 10, he understood their reality all too well, but he never crushed Lily's dreams. In that way, he was just like his father. "Time to go," Maya said, checking her watch again. "We need to catch the 6:45 bus." They emerged from their shelter, Maya always scanning for danger. Other homeless individuals who might be unstable, police who might report them to social services, or worst of all, predators who saw vulnerability as opportunity. "Mom," Noah said suddenly, grabbing her arm. "That car is back." The black luxury sedan was parked across the street. As they watched, the rear door opened, and a man in an expensive suit stepped out. Tall, with dark hair graying at the temples, he carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to power. "Stay behind me," Maya instructed her children, positioning herself between them and the approaching stranger. "Ms. Wilson?" the man called, stopping at a respectful distance. Maya stiffened. "How do you know my name?" "My name is Ethan Parker. I own the property adjacent to this area. May I speak with you for a moment?" "We're on public property," Maya said defensively. "The overpass isn't part of any private land." "I'm aware," he replied. "That's not why I'm here." Noah tugged at Maya's jacket. "We'll miss the bus, Mom." Ethan Parker glanced at his watch, an accessory that probably cost more than what Maya once made in a month. I could drive you. Wherever you need to go. No thank you. Maya said firmly. We don't accept rides from strangers. Something like respect flickered in the man's eyes. Of course, perhaps another time then. He reached into his pocket and produced a business card. I have a proposition that might interest you. Something that could help your family. Maya didn't take the card. We're not looking for charity. Neither am I offering it, he replied. This would be a legitimate opportunity. Please take my card. Call me when you have time to talk. Against her better judgment, Maya accepted the card. We really need to go. Ethan Parker nodded. One more thing. There's a storm forecast for tonight. Heavy rain. He handed her an envelope. This is the address of a hotel near your children's school. A room is reserved in your name for the next week, no strings attached. Before Maya could respond, he turned and walked back to his waiting car. Mom, Lily tugged at her hand. Are we going to stay in a hotel? Maya stared at the envelope, suspicion warring with desperate hope. I don't trust him, Noah declared. Neither did Maya. But as thunder rumbled in the distance, she thought of her children trying to sleep in a flooded shelter. Let's catch our bus, she said, tucking the envelope into her pocket. We'll decide later. The rain came down in sheets, turning the city into a blur of neon reflections and hydroplaning vehicles. Maya stood under the awning of her children's school, the envelope from Ethan Parker heavy in her pocket. She'd spent the day at the public library, searching his name online while applying for jobs she probably wouldn't get. Ethan Parker, real estate magnate, estimated worth $2.6 billion, known for aggressive acquisition strategies and remarkable ability to predict market trends, suspected of information manipulation but never charged, orphaned at 16, no wife, no children, notoriously private. Nothing she'd found explained why such a man would take an interest in her family. Ms. Wilson, the school secretary, appeared at the door. Your children are waiting in my office. I thought it best with the storm. Thank you, Maya said, following her inside. Noah and Lily sat together on a small couch, their backpacks at their feet. Lily brightened immediately upon seeing Maya, but Noah's expression remained guarded. How was the math quiz? Maya asked. Him. Fine, he shrugged. Did you find a job? The question cut deep. Not yet, honey, but I've got some good leads. The lie tasted bitter but necessary. Are we going back to our spot? Noah asked quietly, his eyes darting to the window where lightning flashed. Maya fingered the hotel key card in her pocket. All day, she debated whether to use it. What did Ethan Parker want from them? People didn't help strangers without expecting something in return. She'd learned that lesson all too well since becoming homeless. But the thought of her children spending another night in a flooded shelter. Actually, she said slowly, we're going to stay somewhere else tonight. Lily's face lit up. The hotel, the one from the fancy man? Just for tonight, Maya cautioned. And we need to be very careful. Noah's expression darkened. I don't like it, Mom. What does he want from us? I don't know, Maya admitted. But we'll be careful and we'll stay together. The hotel was modest by luxury standards, but far nicer than anywhere they'd stayed since losing their home. The room had 2 queen beds with clean white linens, a bathroom with fluffy towels, and a small kitchenette. It's like a palace, Lily exclaimed, running from one end of the room to the other. Even Noah seemed impressed, though he tried to hide it. It's okay, I guess. Maya checked every corner of the room, half expecting to find cameras or something else sinister. Instead, she found only a note on hotel stationery. Ms. Wilson, I hope this provides a comfortable respite from the storm. I'll call tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss a business proposition. No obligation to accept. Ethan Parker, can I take a bath? Lily asked, already exploring the bathroom. With bubbles. For the first time in months, Maya felt herself smile genuinely. Yes, you can take a bath, and then we'll order room service. Noah's eyes widened. Room service? Can we afford that? It's included, Maya assured him, showing him the note from the front desk explaining that all charges were covered. Later, with both children clean, fed, and asleep in real beds, Maya stood at the window watching the storm. The rain battered the city, flooding the streets and underpasses, including the one where they would have been trying to sleep. Her phone rang at precisely 10 a.m. the next morning. An unknown number. Hello? She answered cautiously. Ms. Wilson? It's Ethan Parker. I trust you found the accommodations acceptable? Yes, Maya said, stepping into the hallway to avoid waking her children. Thank you, but I still don't understand why you're doing this. I'd prefer to discuss that in person. Would you be available to meet this afternoon? Say 1 o'clock? The hotel restaurant would be convenient. Maya hesitated. My children, bring them, of course. The hotel has an excellent children's menu. After a long pause, Maya agreed. What choice did she have? They couldn't stay in this hotel forever, and soon they'd be back under the overpass. If there was even a chance this man could offer legitimate help, we'll be there. At 1 o'clock, Maya and her children sat at a corner table in the hotel restaurant. Noah positioned himself protectively beside Maya, while Lily busied herself with the crayons and coloring sheet provided by their server. Ethan Parker arrived exactly on time, now dressed in a more casual but still obviously expensive outfit. He greeted them politely and sat opposite Maya. Thank you for meeting with me, he began. You haven't really given us much choice, Maya pointed out. A flicker of something, guilt, crossed his face. You're free to leave any time. The hotel room is yours for the week regardless of our conversation. Before Maya could respond, Lily thrust her drawing across the table. Look what I made. It's our new house. Ethan seemed startled by the direct interaction but recovered quickly. That's quite impressive. You have talent. She wants to be an architect, Maya explained. I'm going to build houses for people who don't have them, Lily announced. Something shifted in Ethan's expression. That's a noble goal. What do you want from us, Mr. Parker? Noah interrupted, his young face serious. Noah, Maya admonished, though she appreciated his directness. It's all right, Ethan said. He's right to ask. He turned to Noah. I'm developing a project on the land near where you've been staying. I need someone who understands the needs of the community there. Maya frowned. You mean the homeless community? Yes. I've recently acquired the property from another developer who planned to build luxury condominiums. I'm considering a different approach, and you think I can help you. How, exactly? Maya asked skeptically. You were a nurse before your circumstances changed, Ethan stated. Maya stiffened. You've been investigating me. Basic due diligence, he replied unapologetically. You have medical training, experience with the community in question, and frankly a perspective I lack, which is reality, he said simply. I deal in property values and investment returns. You understand what people actually need. A well-dressed man approached their table, nodding respectfully to Ethan. Ms. Wilson, this is Gregory Lewis, my attorney. I've prepared some preliminary paperwork, Gregory said, placing a folder on the table. A consulting contract, should you be interested. Maya didn't touch it. What exactly would this consulting involve? Initially, input on the types of services and facilities that would most benefit the community, Ethan explained. Longer term, possibly a management position once the project is completed. And in the meantime, where are we supposed to live? Temporary housing would be provided as part of your compensation package, Gregory interjected, along with a quite generous salary. Maya looked at her children, Lily happily coloring, Noah suspiciously studying the adults. This sounds too good to be true, she said finally. Mom, we should go, Noah whispered urgently. Ethan leaned forward. Your son is right to be cautious, Ms. Wilson. In my experience, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. He paused. But sometimes, very rarely, good things do happen, even to people who've had more than their share of bad. Why us? Maya asked. There are plenty of homeless advocates with more experience. Social workers, actual urban planners. Let's just say I have my reasons, Ethan replied, his gaze drifting briefly to Lily's drawing. Personal ones. Maya recognized the pain that flashed across his face. The same pain she saw in her own mirror every morning. Take the contract. Review it. You have my number if you have questions, Ethan said, standing. The offer remains open until Friday. After he left, Maya opened the folder. The salary figure made her gasp. What is it, Mom? Noah asked anxiously. Maya closed the folder, her mind racing. A chance, she said quietly. Maybe. Hunter Mills slammed his fist on his desk, causing his assistant to flinch. What do you mean he's planning affordable housing? That land is zoned for luxury development. The young analyst shifted uncomfortably. According to our sources, Mr. Parker has already initiated rezoning discussions with the city council. He's positioning it as a public-private partnership to address homelessness. That manipulative bastard, Hunter seethed. He knew this was coming when he bought the property. From me. That's why he was so eager to close. There's more, sir. The analyst continued nervously. He's hired a consultant, a former nurse who was actually living homeless in the area. The optics are compelling. Hunter paced his corner office. The downtown skyline spread before him like a kingdom. A kingdom where Ethan Parker had just outmaneuvered him yet again. Find out everything about Parker, he ordered. Business dealings, personal history, weaknesses, everything. He didn't suddenly develop a conscience. There's an angle here, and I want to know what it is. Yes, sir, the assistant replied, hurrying from the room. Hunter turned to the window, seething with resentment. He and Ethan had circled each other for years, competing for properties and projects across the city. But Hunter had always played within the boundaries, aggressive but legal. Parker, on the other hand, had a reputation for manipulation and well-timed leaks that seemed just a little too convenient. Parker, Hunter muttered, you've finally gone too far. 3 days later, Hunter sat across from Jessica Chen, a business reporter known for her investigative pieces on real estate development. Thanks for meeting me, Hunter said smoothly. I thought you might be interested in a story about the West Side project. Jessica raised an eyebrow. The one you just sold to Ethan Parker? Word is he's turning it into affordable housing. Doesn't seem like your style to support that. I'm not, Hunter admitted. But I am interested in the truth. Parker isn't the philanthropist he's suddenly pretending to be. So you're offering me, what exactly? Hunter slid a folder across the table. Background on Parker's past dealings. Projects where information was mysteriously leaked, causing property values to tank before he swooped in. Competitors who found themselves battling sudden regulatory issues after refusing to sell to him. Jessica glanced at the contents but didn't touch the folder. And you're giving me this out of civic duty? Hunter smiled thinly. Let's just say our interests temporarily align. The public deserves to know who's really behind this charitable project. And what do you get? The satisfaction of seeing the truth come to light. Jessica finally took the folder. I'll look into it, but if I find something, I'll report it accurately, even if it implicates you too. Hunter nodded, confident in his own ability to stay just on the right side of legal. I wouldn't expect anything less. Back at his office, Hunter reviewed the preliminary report his team had assembled on Ethan Parker. Parents died when he was 16, Hunter read aloud. Younger brother Michael died homeless at 23. Drug overdose. He looked up at his investigator. This is interesting. When did the brother die? 15 years ago next week, the investigator replied. Hunter leaned back, the pieces falling into place. So our ruthless Mr. Parker has a soft spot after all, and a guilty conscience, it seems. The investigator nodded. There's more. The woman he's hired, Maya Wilson, her situation is remarkably similar. Became homeless after her husband died, leaving medical debts. 2 children living under the overpass adjacent to the property. Perfect, Hunter murmured. This isn't business for Parker, it's personal. What are you thinking, sir? Hunter stared out at the city, a plan forming. I'm thinking it's time to put pressure on Mr. Parker's weak spot. Across town, Ethan sat in a conference room with his project team, including Maya Wilson. She'd accepted his offer 2 days earlier, after having Gregory explain every detail of the contract. The preliminary designs include a health clinic, Ethan was saying, but I'd like your input on what services would be most needed. Maya studied the blueprints. Mental health support is critical, and substance abuse treatment. Many people on the streets are self-medicating for underlying conditions. Ethan nodded, making notes. What about? His phone buzzed with a message, then another, and another. Excuse me, he said, checking the screen. The first message was from Sophia. Have you seen the Business Journal article? The second from Gregory. Call me immediately. The third was a news alert with the headline, Billionaire's Charity Project. Genuine philanthropy or guilt-driven manipulation. Ethan's face remained impassive, but his knuckles whitened around his phone. Is everything all right? Maya asked. Fine, Ethan replied automatically. Let's continue. But the interruptions kept coming. His phone rang constantly until he finally turned it off. By the end of the meeting, the tension in his shoulders was visible. That's enough for today, he said abruptly. Maya, thank you for your input. Gregory will arrange for your temporary apartment. As everyone filed out, Sophia entered, her expression grim. Hunter Mills is giving interviews about your questionable business tactics. He's suggesting this entire project is just another manipulation. It doesn't matter, Ethan said dismissively. It does when he's connecting it to Michael. Ethan froze. What? The article mentions your brother. Suggests you're using this homeless family as some sort of redemption project. For a moment, raw fury flashed in Ethan's eyes. Then with visible effort, he controlled his expression. Have Gregory prepare a statement. Standard denial, focus on the project benefits. Ethan, Sophia began hesitantly. What? Mills knows about the family. Maya and her children. He mentioned them specifically in his interview. Ethan's calm facade cracked. Call security. I want protection for them immediately. Already done, Sophia assured him. But there's more. Mills has filed a complaint with the city council questioning the rezoning application. He's claiming special treatment due to your political connections. Ethan's jaw tightened. He won't stop there. No, Sophia agreed. He's already approached some of the families living in the encampment, offering them cash to speak against your project. Get Gregory to handle the legal side. I'll deal with Mills myself. Sophia looked concerned. What are you planning? Ethan didn't answer. His phone rang again. An unknown number. He almost declined it, then changed his mind. Parker? He answered tersely. Mr. Parker. Hunter's voice was smooth with satisfaction. I hope I'm not interrupting your charitable work. What do you want, Mills? Just calling to congratulate you on your sudden philanthropic streak, though I must say, using a homeless family as props for your guilt over your brother seems a bit exploitative. Ethan's grip tightened on the phone. If you come near Maya Wilson or her children, threats, Ethan? That's not like you. Always so controlled, so calculating. Hunter chuckled. I wonder what your new consultant would think if she knew the truth about your business practices, or about what really happened with your brother. Stay away from her, Ethan said, his voice dangerously quiet. Here's what's going to happen. Hunter continued as if Ethan hadn't spoken. You're going to sell me back that property, at a reasonable loss, of course, and end this charade. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man Ethan Parker really is, including your new pet project family. The line went dead before Ethan could respond. Sophia watched him warily. What did he say? Ethan set the phone down carefully. He's trying to leverage Michael against me, and threatening Maya and her children. Will you back down? For a moment, Ethan considered it. It would be easier to walk away, to find another project, to protect himself from the publicity and the painful memories Hunter was stirring up. Then he remembered the determination in Maya's eyes as she helped her children with homework under that overpass, the way Noah protected his sister, Lily's drawings of houses she wanted to build. No, he said finally. Not this time. Rain tapped gently against the windows of the temporary apartment Ethan had arranged for Maya and her children. After 2 weeks in the hotel, they'd moved into this furnished 2-bedroom unit in a secure building near the children's school. Maya still couldn't quite believe the turn their lives had taken. She sat at the small dining table, reviewing notes from the day's project meeting. Noah was doing homework at the counter while Lily sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by the art supplies Ethan had sent over. Professional quality colored pencils, markers, and sketchbooks that had made her eyes widen with delight. Knock at the door made them all look up. Maya checked the security peephole, a habit from her nursing days that had only intensified during their time on the streets. Ethan Parker stood in the hallway looking uncharacteristically rumpled. Mr. Parker, Maya said as she opened the door. We weren't expecting you. I apologize for the intrusion, he replied. May I come in? There are some matters we need to discuss. Maya nodded, stepping aside. Noah immediately moved closer to Lily, his protective instincts kicking in. Hello, Mr. Parker, Lily called cheerfully. Do you want to see my new drawings? A brief smile softened Ethan's tense expression. Perhaps in a moment, Lily. I need to speak with your mother first. Maya gestured toward the small balcony. We can talk out there. Once outside with the door closed, Ethan's professional demeanor slipped. He looked tired, the circles under his eyes more pronounced than usual. There's been some negative publicity about the project, he began. I saw the articles, Maya admitted. The reporter called me today. Ethan's head snapped up. What did you tell her? Nothing. I don't give interviews without understanding the agenda. Maya studied him carefully. But I'd like to know the truth. Are the accusations accurate? About your business practices? Ethan's gaze shifted to the city skyline. For a long moment he didn't speak. Not entirely, he said finally. But not entirely false either. And this project? Is it just for show? Some sort of redemption attempt? It's complicated. Maya crossed her arms. Then uncomplicate it. My children and I are involved now. We deserve to know what we've gotten into. Ethan sighed heavily. You're right. He gestured to the small table and chairs. May we sit? Once seated, Ethan seemed to struggle with where to begin. Maya waited, giving him space to find his words. I had a brother, he said abruptly. Michael, younger than me by 4 years. Had? He died 15 years ago this week. I'm sorry. Maya said softly, recognizing the familiar pain in his voice. Our parents died when I was 16 and Michael was 12. Car accident. Ethan's words came faster now, as if a dam had broken. I was old enough to become his legal guardian, but young enough to be completely overwhelmed. Maya nodded, understanding all too well the weight of sole responsibility for children. I was determined to take care of him, to make sure we never struggled financially like we had when our parents were alive. I worked multiple jobs, took business classes at night, made connections with anyone who could help us get ahead. He paused, staring at his hands. I was so focused on building security that I missed what was happening with Michael. The depression, the acting out, the drugs. By the time I realized how bad it was, he was already addicted. Rain fell harder. Now, streaking the glass of the balcony door where Noah watched them cautiously from inside. What happened? Maya asked gently. I tried to help. Expensive rehab programs, therapists, tough love. Nothing worked. Eventually, I gave him an ultimatum. Get clean or get out. Ethan's voice cracked slightly. He chose to leave. Lived on the streets for almost a year. I told myself it was his choice, that he had to hit bottom before he could recover. And then he died. Alone, under a bridge not unlike the one where I found you and your children. Ethan's eyes met hers, haunted by old grief. I was so busy closing a major real estate deal that I missed his calls that day. 3 of them. Maya reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. A nurse's instinct to provide comfort. The anniversary is tomorrow, Ethan continued. Every year I clear my schedule, shut myself away, try to forget. But I never can. And our family? Are we just substitutes? A way to atone? Ethan withdrew his hand. Initially, perhaps. I saw you helping your children with homework despite everything, and it resonated. But now I believe this project has merit on its own, and you're genuinely qualified for the role. Your nursing background, your first-hand experience. Maya considered this. The developer who's attacking you, Hunter Mills, he's suggesting you manipulated him to get the property. I did, Ethan admitted. I created false information about zoning restrictions to drive down the price. It's what I do. What I've always done. Find leverage, create circumstances that benefit me, make the deal, and people get hurt in the process. Sometimes. Yes, Maya stood, moving to the balcony railing. I appreciate your honesty, but I'm not sure I can be part of this if it's built on deception. The project itself is genuine, Ethan insisted, joining her at the railing. Whatever my initial motivation, whatever methods I use to acquire the property, the housing will be real. The services will help real people. Inside, Lily had convinced Noah to join her drawing session. Maya watched her children, finally having a moment of normalcy after months of constant struggle. My husband, David, she said suddenly, was the optimist in our family. He always believed people could change, that second chances were possible. She turned to face Ethan. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. I understand, but I do believe in actions over intentions. Maya straightened. Decision made. I'll continue with the project for now, but I need complete transparency moving forward. No more manipulation, no more hidden agendas. Agreed, Ethan said, relief evident in his voice. And one more thing, Maya added. Tomorrow is the anniversary of your brother's death. What do you usually do? Ethan looked surprised by the question. Nothing productive. Drink. Remember. Regret. That ends now, Maya said firmly. Tomorrow you'll come with us to the community dinner at St. Mark's shelter. Most of the people still living under that overpass will be there. You need to meet them, not as potential beneficiaries of your charity, but as people, with names and stories. I don't think that's my condition, Maya interrupted. If you want me to stay with this project, you start seeing the people you're supposedly helping. For a moment she thought he would refuse. Then, almost imperceptibly, he nodded. 6 o'clock, she said. Dress casually, and be prepared to serve. Food, not just write checks. As Ethan left the apartment, Lily rushed up to Maya with a drawing. Look, Mom, it's Mr. Parker's building but with gardens on every floor. Maya studied the colorful sketch. A modern high-rise with trees and flowers spilling from each level. People of all sizes visible through the windows. It's beautiful, sweetheart. I'm going to give it to him next time. Do you think he'll like? Maya glanced toward the door where Ethan had just departed. I think it might be exactly what he needs to see. Ethan stood outside St. Mark's shelter, his Rolex hidden beneath the sleeve of a plain sweater Mrs. Chen had retrieved from the back of his closet. He'd almost backed out a dozen times during the day, The anniversary of Michael's death had always been private, sacred in its sorrow. The thought of spending it surrounded by strangers made his chest tighten with anxiety. Yet here he was, because Maya Wilson had somehow cut through his carefully constructed defenses and challenged him directly. "You came," Maya said, appearing beside him. She wore simple jeans and a faded sweater, a far cry from the professional attire she'd adopted for their project meetings. "I said I would," Ethan replied stiffly. Noah and Lily followed behind their mother, the boy eyeing Ethan suspiciously, while Lily skipped forward. "I brought you something." She thrust a rolled paper into his hands. "It's your building, but better." Ethan carefully unrolled the drawing, taken aback by the explosion of color and life on the page. His standard glass and steel design had been transformed with gardens cascading down the sides, people visible in windows, and what appeared to be a playground on the roof. "It's remarkable," he said, genuinely impressed. "You have quite an imagination, Lily." "Mom says imagination is the first step to making things real," Lily replied proudly. Ethan glanced at Maya, who shrugged. "My husband's philosophy, not mine," but it stuck with her. Inside the shelter, organized chaos reigned. Volunteers bustled about setting up tables and serving food. The room filled with people, some clearly homeless, others local residents or church members. The air hummed with conversation, punctuated by occasional laughter. Maya, an older woman with silver-streaked hair, embraced her. "And the children. You look well, all of you." "We're doing better, Diane," Maya confirmed. "This is a colleague, Ethan Parker." Diane sized him up with shrewd eyes. "First time volunteering? Is it that obvious?" Ethan asked. "Only to those of us who've been doing this for 20 years. She chuckled. "Come on, we need help in the kitchen." Before he could protest, Ethan found himself wearing an apron and serving mashed potatoes to a line of people who barely glanced at him as they moved through the buffet. No one recognized him. No one cared about his net worth or his business acumen. He was just another pair of hands. Halfway through the evening, a wiry man with weathered skin stopped before him. "You're new," he observed. "Yes," Ethan acknowledged. "I'm Joe. Been coming to these dinners for 3 years now." "Ethan, first time." Joe nodded as if this confirmed something. "You got that look." "What look?" "Like you're seeing things you've been avoiding." Joe held out his plate. "More potatoes if you don't mind. Only real meal I get all week." As Ethan served him, he noticed Joe's hands calloused with nails rimmed in dirt that no amount of shelter soap could remove. Working hands, not so different from the hands Ethan's father had had. "You got a place to sleep tonight?" Ethan found himself asking. "Got my spot under the overpass," Joe replied matter-of-factly. "Unless it rains. Then it's the doorway of that closed-down bookstore on 7th. The casual acceptance of such precarious circumstances struck Ethan hard. Had Michael lived like this? Had he stood in lines for food, searched for dry doorways during storms? Throughout the evening, Maya introduced him to more people. A former teacher who'd lost her home to medical bills, an elderly couple living in their car since their fixed income couldn't keep pace with rising rents, a young man who'd aged out, of foster care with nowhere to go. Each story chipped away at something inside Ethan, crumbling the walls he'd built between himself and the realities his wealth had insulated him from. Later, as they helped clean up, Maya found him sitting alone, in a corner. "You've been quiet," she observed. "Just processing." She sat beside him. "It's overwhelming the first time. Putting faces to statistics. Is it always this crowded? This is nothing. End of the month is worse when people's money runs out. And winter," Maya shook her head. "Winter is brutal." Ethan thought of the land he'd acquired from Hunter, the plans they'd been developing for basic transitional housing units. "It's not enough," he said suddenly. "What isn't?" "The current project. Basic housing, a small clinic, some job training. It's insufficient." Maya studied him. "What are you thinking?" Ethan pulled out his phone and opened the sketch app he used for preliminary ideas. Something more comprehensive. Not just transitional housing, but permanent affordable units. Mixed income, so it's sustainable. Healthcare facilities, education resources, childcare, job placement. His fingers moved rapidly across the screen as he outlined his vision. "We could incorporate green spaces like Lily's drawing, urban gardens that provide food and create community, renewable energy to keep utility costs low." "That's ambitious," Maya said carefully. "But possible," Ethan insisted. "I have the resources, the connections. And the land? The West Side property is a start, but not enough." Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. There are adjacent parcels, some already on the market, others I could acquire. At what cost? Maya asked. More manipulation? More schemes? Ethan stopped, her words bringing him back to reality. No, you're right. There has to be another way. They sat in silence for a moment, the sounds of the shelter fading around them. What if, Maya said slowly, you used your skills for transparency instead of deception, meaning, you understand real estate better than almost anyone, you know how to spot value others miss, how to navigate regulations, how to make projects financially viable. Ethan nodded, uncertain where she was going. What if you created a model that proves affordable housing can be profitable, or at least sustainable? Not charity, but smart business with social impact, a blueprint others could follow, Ethan mused. Changing the system from within. Exactly. Be as ruthless about creating housing solutions as you've been about making money, for the first time. That day, Ethan felt a spark of genuine purpose. Not guilt-driven atonement, but something more substantial. I'd need partners, he said. Experts in social services, healthcare, education. I might know a few people. Maya smiled. And you? Ethan asked. Would you consider a more permanent role? Director of Community Health Services, perhaps? Are you offering me a job, Mr. Parker? I'm proposing a partnership, he clarified. Your expertise and perspective in exchange for my resources and business acumen. Maya looked across the room where Lily was teaching two younger children how to draw flowers. Noah sat nearby, no longer scowling but conversing quietly with an elderly man. My children come first, she said. Their stability, their education, of course. We could ensure they have everything they need. Good schools, safe environment, opportunities to thrive. Maya's expression turned cautious. This all sounds wonderful, but there's still Hunter Mills to deal with. He seems determined to destroy both the project and your reputation. Let me worry about Hunter, Ethan said, though I may need to address certain aspects of my past that he's threatening to expose. Like what happened with your brother, Ethan nodded grimly. Among other things, Noah approached, his usual wariness tempered by the events of the evening. Mom, Lily's getting tired. We should go, Maya agreed, standing. It's been a long day for everyone. As they gathered their belongings, Diane returned with a small package wrapped in foil. Leftovers, she explained, handing it to Ethan. First-timer's tradition. Thank you, he said, unexpectedly touched by the simple gesture. Outside, Maya turned to him. So, this partnership? When do we start? We already have, Ethan replied, though there's something else we need to discuss. The safety of you and your children? What do you mean? Hunter Mills doesn't fight fair, and he's made it clear he'll use any leverage available, including you. We can take care of ourselves. Noah interjected defensively. Ethan regarded the boy with newfound respect. I'm sure you can, but I'd like to provide additional security just as a precaution. Maya hesitated, then nodded. All right, but no more secrets, Ethan. If we're partners in this, I need to know what we're facing. Full transparency, he promised. As Maya and her children walked toward the car he'd sent for them, Ethan remained. On the sidewalk, the weight of the day, of Michael's anniversary, settling differently than in previous years. For the first time in 15 years, the crushing guilt had eased, replaced by something that felt almost like purpose. The morning sun cast long shadows across the vacant lot as Ethan walked the perimeter, Maya beside him. In the week since the shelter dinner, they'd expanded their vision for the project considerably, moving from basic transitional housing to a comprehensive community development. This area could work for the health clinic, Maya suggested, pointing to a corner of the property. Easy street access for emergency vehicles, but still integrated with the residential spaces. Ethan made a note on his tablet. We should connect with local hospitals for potential partnerships, satellite services, resident training programs. I might know someone who could help with that, Maya said. Dr. Rivera runs the free clinic near St. Mark's. She's been treating the homeless population for years. As they discussed possibilities, a small group gathered at the chain-link fence surrounding the property. Residents of the nearby encampment watched curiously as the billionaire and the former nurse surveyed what had been empty land for as long as most could remember. Should we talk to them? Ethan asked, noticing the onlookers. Maya nodded. Absolutely. This project needs their input. From the beginning, they approached the fence and Maya greeted several people by name. Everyone, this is Ethan Parker. He's developing this property, and we'd like to hear your thoughts. Wariness met her words. These were people accustomed to broken promises and development that pushed them further to the margins. Another luxury condo? Asked an older man leaning on a cane. No, Ethan replied. Affordable housing, health services, community spaces. Heard that before, a woman commented skeptically. Then the rents end up sky high anyway. That's why. We want your input, Maya explained, to create something that actually works for this community. Gradually, the conversation warmed. People began sharing their experiences, their needs, their hopes. Ethan listened more than he spoke, taking notes, asking occasional questions. A young man named Marcus proved particularly insightful. Problem isn't just housing, he explained. It's stability. You get a place but can't keep a job because you don't have reliable transportation or childcare. Or you get sick with no health care. What would help most, Ethan asked. Everything connected, Marcus replied. Housing near jobs, affordable childcare, health clinic that doesn't require insurance, community that looks out for each other. An ecosystem, Ethan murmured, the concept resonating with his business mindset. By the time they'd finished the impromptu community meeting, Ethan had filled pages with notes and new ideas. The project was evolving before his eyes, becoming something far more meaningful than his initial guilt-driven concept. Thank you all, he said sincerely, as they prepared to leave. This is exactly the kind of collaboration we need. As the group dispersed, a woman approached Maya, her expression anxious. Ms. Wilson, could I speak with you privately? Of course, Angela, Maya replied. Ethan, this is Angela Garcia. Her son has asthma. We used to see them at the clinic where I worked. It's getting worse, Angela said, her voice tight with worry. His inhaler is empty and I can't get a refill without seeing the doctor. But I lost my insurance when they cut my hours at work. Maya turned to Ethan. Dr. Rivera's clinic is across town. Is there any chance we could use your car? Without hesitation, Ethan called his driver. Take them wherever they need to go. Wait as long as necessary. I can't pay for... Angela began. It's not charity. Ethan interrupted gently. It's exactly why we're doing this project. The healthcare system shouldn't be this difficult to navigate. After Angela left with Maya, Ethan continued exploring the property, his mind racing with possibilities. He was so absorbed that he almost didn't notice Noah approaching until the boy was right beside him. Mom said you'd be here, Noah said, his school backpack slung over one shoulder. Shouldn't you be in class? Ethan asked, checking his watch. Half day. Teacher conferences. Noah kicked at a rock. I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Your mother's gone to a clinic with someone who needed help. Noah nodded. She does that. Helps people. Even when we didn't have anything ourselves. Ethan studied the boy, recognizing the maturity that hardship had forced upon him. You've taken good care of your family. Had to. Noah shrugged. After Dad died, Mom tried to do everything, but she needed help sometimes. And now? Ethan asked carefully. How do you feel about your current situation? Noah considered the question seriously. It's better, but nothing's permanent, is it? This project could fall apart. You could change your mind. We could end up back under that overpass. The raw vulnerability beneath the boy's tough exterior reminded Ethan painfully of Michael. Noah, I promise you this. Whatever happens with this project, with your mother's job, with anything else, you and your sister and your mother will never have to live under that overpass again. People make promises all the time, Noah replied, skeptically. Then I'll put it in writing. A legal guarantee of housing, education funds, whatever you need. No conditions, no expiration date. Noah's eyes widened slightly. Why would you do that? Ethan hesitated, then decided on honesty. Because I once failed someone I should have protected. I won't make that mistake again. Before Noah could respond, Ethan's phone rang. Maya calling from the clinic. Ethan, we've got a situation, she said, her voice tense. Angela's son is having a severe asthma attack. Dr. Rivera is doing what she can, but the clinic doesn't have all the equipment they need. The nearest hospital is overloaded with a multi-car accident. Ambulance response times are delayed. What do you need? Specialized breathing treatments. Possibly oxygen. The private Westside Medical Center would have everything, but they won't. Take patients without insurance or cash up front. Put Dr. Rivera on the phone, Ethan instructed. A moment later, a brisk female voice came on the line. This is Dr. Rivera. Who am I speaking with? Ethan Parker. I understand you have a critical pediatric patient. Yes, and I don't have time to call Westside Medical. Tell them to prepare for an emergency admission. Patient's bills will be covered by the Parker Foundation. There is no Parker Foundation, Dr. Rivera replied skeptically. There will be, By the time you arrive, just get that child the care he needs. After ending the call, Ethan turned to Noah. I need to handle this. Do you want to come with me? To his surprise, Noah nodded. Yeah. I want to see if you actually do what you say. Ethan almost smiled at the boy's directness. Fair enough. 3 hours later, they sat in the waiting room of Westside Medical Center. Maya had remained with Angela, whose son was now stabilized and receiving treatment. Ethan had made dozens of calls, pulling strings and making arrangements to cover not just this emergency, but establishing a fund for similar cases. You really did it, Noah said quietly, watching Ethan finish a call with his attorney. I said I would. Most adults say a lot of things. Ethan put his phone away. I'm learning that actions matter more than words. Maya emerged from the treatment area, exhaustion evident in her posture. He's going to be okay. They're keeping him overnight for observation. And Angela? Ethan asked, worried about the bills even though I told her it's covered. It's more than covered, Ethan informed her. I've arranged for comprehensive care going forward and similar support for other emergency cases from the Bay community. Maya sank into a chair beside them. Thank you. But this is exactly why we need that clinic as part of the project. Emergency interventions are wonderful, but preventive care would have kept this from becoming a crisis in the first place. Dr. Rivera is quite impressive, Ethan commented. Advocated fiercely for her patient, didn't take no for an answer even from hospital administration. She's been fighting this system for years, Maya replied, doing what she can with limited resources. Would she consider joining our project? Leading the health services component? Maya smiled tiredly. Funny you should ask. She's already demanded a meeting with you to discuss exactly that. Noah, who had been quietly observing their exchange, suddenly spoke up. Is Lily still at her art class? Yes, Mrs. Chen is picking her up. Maya checked her watch. We should go meet them. Mrs. Chen? Ethan asked, surprised. She offered, Maya explained. Said she wanted to see Lily's artwork. They've apparently been having long conversations about architectural design whenever Mrs. Chen drops off your paperwork. Something about this unexpected connection between his stern housekeeper and Maya's imaginative daughter struck Ethan deeply. Would all of you join me for dinner tonight? He asked impulsively. At my home. I think it's time you saw where I live since I've been so involved in planning your future housing. Maya hesitated, clearly exhausted from the day's events. Another time might be, please? Noah interrupted, surprising both adults. I want to see if his house is as big as the ones in Lily's drawings. Ethan found himself genuinely laughing. For the first time in what felt like years. I'm afraid it might be disappointingly conventional compared to your sister's designs. Then maybe she can help you fix it, Noah suggested, the faintest hint of a smile crossing his usually serious face. Looking at them, Maya's tired but determined expression, Noah's cautious opening toward trust. Ethan felt something shift within him. This wasn't about atonement anymore. It had become something more important. It had become about possibility. The headline blared across the business section. Parker's past. Billionaire's rise built on manipulation and deceit. Below it, a photo of Ethan at a groundbreaking ceremony years earlier. Hunter Mills visible in the background, face blurred, but recognizable. Ethan set the newspaper aside as Gregory and Sophia exchanged concerned glances across his office. It's worse online, Sophia reported, scrolling through her tablet. Mills gave an exclusive interview detailing 5 specific deals where you allegedly manipulated information or created false market impressions. Can we sue for defamation? Ethan asked. Gregory shifted uncomfortably. Technically, yes. Practically, it would be difficult. Mills has been careful to phrase things as opinion or to cite anonymous sources, and litigation would only bring more attention to the accusations. Besides, Sophia added gently, much of what he's saying has a basis in fact. Your methods have been creative over the years. Ethan's phone buzzed with an incoming call from Maya. He hesitated before answering. Have you seen it? She asked without preamble. Yes, you need to address this, Ethan. People are talking. The community members we've been working with are concerned. He pinched the bridge of his nose. What would you suggest? A press release? Denying everything? The truth, Maya said simply. However uncomfortable, after ending the call, Ethan stood at his office window, staring at the city he'd helped shape through deals both fair and questionable. She's right, he said finally. Schedule a press conference and contact the partners for the 5 projects Mills mentioned. I need to speak with each of them personally. The conference room hummed with tense energy as representatives from community, organizations, potential project partners, and several reporters waited for Ethan to begin. Maya sat in the front row, her expression neutral but supportive. Ethan approached the podium, setting aside the carefully crafted statement his PR team had prepared. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "I'm sure you've seen the recent articles about my business practices. Rather than issue denials or get entangled in legal battles, I want to address the substance of these reports directly." A ripple of surprise moved through the audience. "Throughout my career, I have indeed used information, sometimes created or manipulated information, to gain advantages in negotiations. I've exploited regulatory loopholes, leveraged insider knowledge, and yes, occasionally deliberately fostered misconceptions to secure better terms." The room fell completely silent, journalists frantically taking notes. These tactics are, unfortunately, not uncommon in high-stakes real estate development. That doesn't make them right. It simply makes them normal. The system rewards those who can identify and exploit advantages, often at others' expense. Ethan paused, taking a breath. "My deal with Hunter Mills regarding the Westside property did involve such tactics. I created a false impression about zoning restrictions to secure a lower price. For that specific manipulation, I've already reached out to Mr. Mills to discuss appropriate compensation for the difference between what I paid and fair market value." Murmurs spread through the room. No one had expected such a frank admission. "But this project has become something more important than another real estate deal." Ethan's voice strengthened. "The Westside community development represents an opportunity to demonstrate that ethical, transparent development can create both social and economic value." He gestured toward Maya. "My partnership with Maya Wilson and other community members has shown me there's another way to approach development, one that incorporates the needs and perspectives of those most affected by housing insecurity." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Parker, are you saying you've had a moral awakening? Why should anyone believe this isn't just damage control?" "I don't expect immediate trust," Ethan acknowledged. "My actions going forward will have to speak for themselves, but I am committed to complete transparency with this project. All financial models, all partnership agreements, all community benefits will be publicly documented." Another journalist stood. "Sources close to Mr. Mills suggest your interest in this homeless project stems from personal guilt over your brother's death. Can you address that?" The room went completely silent. Maya tensed visibly in her seat. For a moment, Ethan gripped the podium tightly, his composed facade threatening to crack. Then he straightened. "My younger brother, Michael, died homeless 15 years ago following struggles with addiction. Did that personal tragedy influence my interest in this project? Initially, yes. But this has evolved beyond personal redemption into something far more significant." Questions erupted from all sides. But Ethan raised a hand for silence. "That's all I'll say about my brother. His memory deserves better than to become tabloid fodder or a PR narrative. The focus should remain on the project and its potential impact." As the press conference continued, Maya watched Ethan field difficult questions with unexpected openness. The man standing before the cameras seemed fundamentally different from the calculating businessman who had first approached her family under the overpass. After the formal session ended, Maya found Ethan in a quiet corner, journalists still hovering nearby hoping for additional comments. "That couldn't have been easy," she said softly. "Easier than I expected, actually," he replied. "There's something liberating about the truth." Before they could continue their conversation, the door burst open and Hunter Mills strode in, his face flushed with anger. "Quite a performance, Parker," he sneered. "The repentant billionaire. Tell me, did you practice those crocodile tears in the mirror this morning?" Security moved to intercept him, but Ethan waved them off. "Hunter, I tried to reach you earlier. I'm not interested in your blood money," Hunter spat. "You think you can buy your way out of this?" "No," Ethan replied calmly. "But I do think we can find a resolution that benefits everyone, including the community this project will serve." Hunter laughed bitterly. Always the businessman, always looking for the angle. "Perhaps we could discuss this privately," Ethan suggested, aware of the journalists watching avidly. "Why? Afraid of more public revelations?" Hunter moved closer, lowering his voice. "I know about what really happened with Michael. How you cut him off completely. How you refused to take his calls the day he died. How you were too busy closing the riverfront deal to attend to your own brother's desperate need." Ethan went completely still, his face draining of color. Maya stepped forward instinctively. "Mr. Mills, that's enough. she said firmly. Hunter turned, to her eyes narrowing. Ah, the homeless nurse, his pet project. Has he told you everything, Ms. Wilson? Or just the sanitized version that makes him look like a grieving brother rather than the cold-hearted bastard who— Stop. Noah's voice cut through the tension. He stood in the doorway, Lily half hidden behind him. Just stop. Everyone turned to stare at the children. Maya moved quickly toward them. Noah. Lily. You shouldn't be here. Where's Mrs. Chen? Parking. The car. Noah explained. We wanted to surprise you. Lily peered around her brother, her eyes wide as she took in the scene. Why is that man being mean to Mr. Parker? Hunter had the grace to look slightly ashamed at the child's question. Ethan recovered first, approaching the children with a gentle smile that masked his inner turmoil. It's just a business disagreement, Lily. Nothing for you to worry about, but— He looked so angry, Lily persisted. Sometimes adults forget how to talk about their problems properly, Ethan explained, with a pointed look at Hunter. Noah studied both men carefully. Is this about the land? The project? Yes, Hunter replied. Before Ethan could answer, your friend Mr. Parker here tricked me into selling that property for less than it was worth, and now he's trying to make it right, Noah said, surprising everyone. Mom said he offered to pay you the difference. Hunter seemed taken aback by the boy's direct approach. It's more complicated than that. Why? Noah challenged. If he pays what he should have, isn't that fair? The business world isn't about fairness, kid, Hunter scoffed. Maybe that's the problem, Noah replied quietly. A heavy silence fell over the room. Hunter looked from the serious-faced boy to Ethan, then to the journalists still hovering nearby. This isn't over, Parker, he said finally, but the venom had largely drained from his voice. He turned and left, pushing past the reporters who immediately followed. Sensing a better story, Maya pulled her children close. You two shouldn't have come. In alone. We heard shouting, Noah explained. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Ethan knelt to Lily's level. Thank you for coming to check on us. That was very brave. Lily beamed at him. Did you see the news? You're famous now. They showed your picture on the TV at school. Despite everything, Ethan found himself chuckling. Yes, I suppose I am. Though not for reasons I'd prefer. My teacher says you're helping homeless people, Lily continued innocently. She says you're doing a good thing. Over her head, Ethan's eyes met Maya's. I'm trying to, he said softly, with your mother's help. Noah, ever perceptive, looked between them. That man knows about your brother, doesn't he? The one who died? Ethan nodded, unwilling to lie to the boy. Yes. He's using that information to pressure me. That's not right, Noah said firmly. No, Ethan agreed. It's not. But in business, in life, people don't always behave honorably. So what are you going to do? Noah asked. Ethan stood straightening his suit jacket. Continue with our project. Deal fairly with Mr. Mills. And try to be the kind of person who deserves your mother's partnership. As Mrs. Chen finally arrived, apologizing for the delay, Ethan watched. Maya with her children. The family that had unexpectedly changed the course of his life. Whatever Hunter Mills might reveal about Michael, about Ethan's failures as a brother, it couldn't change the path forward. For the first time in 15 years, Ethan was facing his past instead of running from it. And somehow, that made all the difference. Rain pelted against the windows of Ethan's home office as he reviewed the latest project documents. The media storm following his press conference had intensified rather than abated, with business publications dissecting his career and tabloids speculating about Michael's death. Through it all, work on the West Side project continued. If anything, the controversy had drawn more attention to the housing crisis and generated unexpected support from various quarters. These cost projections look promising, Maya commented, reviewing the spreadsheets on her tablet. After the confrontation with Hunter, she'd suggested working from Ethan's home rather than the office to avoid the reporters camped outside Parker Enterprises. We've secured commitments from 3 major contractors willing to work at reduced rates, Ethan confirmed, and the city council seems receptive to the tax incentives we've proposed. Mrs. Chen entered with a tray of coffee. Over the past weeks, she'd taken to mothering Maya almost as much as she did Ethan, constantly providing food and drink during their long planning sessions. You both work too hard, she observed. The children are in the garden with the art teacher. Perhaps you should take a break. Ethan glanced out the window to where Lily sat with her new art instructor, a retired professor Ethan had hired after discovering the girl's talent. Noah worked nearby on a project of his own, building what appeared to be a small model structure. Soon, he promised. We need to finalize these numbers before tomorrow's presentation. Mrs. Chen fixed him with a stern look. Michael would tell Hugh the same thing. Work is not everything. The mention of his brother no longer sent Ethan into emotional retreat. Since acknowledging Michael's death publicly, something had shifted. The pain remained, but it had become less crippling, more integrated into his understanding of himself. You're right, he conceded. 30 more minutes, then we'll join them. After Mrs. Chen departed, Maya studied Ethan thoughtfully. She's known you a long time. Since I was a child, Ethan confirmed. She worked for my parents, stayed after they died, tried to guide Michael and me as best she could, though I was too stubborn to listen most of the time. She cares for you deeply. Ethan nodded. Far more than I deserve. That's how love works, Maya said simply. It's not about deserving. Before Ethan could respond, his phone rang. Gregory's name flashed on the screen. I just left the courthouse, the attorney reported without preamble. Hunter has filed a lawsuit alleging fraudulent misrepresentation in the Westside property deal. Ethan sighed. We expected this. What's our position? Complicated. Given your public admissions, a standard defense would be challenging. However, the settlement offer you made should mitigate damages, which he rejected, Ethan reminded him. Yes, but it demonstrates good faith on our part. There's another angle too. His development plans violated several environmental regulations. My team uncovered evidence he was aware of the violations and planned to proceed anyway. Ethan considered this. I don't want to use that unless absolutely necessary. Fighting fire with fire just leaves everything burned. After ending the call, he explained the situation to Maya. What will you do? She asked. Continue negotiating. Try to find a resolution that allows the project to proceed without further delays. Maya touched his arm gently. Ethan, I need to ask you something. Something personal about Michael. She nodded. Hunter keeps hinting at something beyond what you've shared. If there's more to the story, something that could impact the project, I need to know. Ethan's jaw tightened. He moved to the window, watching the children in the garden. Noah had apparently finished his model and was showing it to Lily, who clapped her hands in delight. The day Michael died, Ethan began slowly. He called me 3 times. I was in the final stages of the riverfront development deal, the one that essentially established Parker Enterprises as a major player. The rain intensified, drumming against the glass. I saw his calls, but I didn't answer. I told myself it was just another request for money to feed his addiction, that I was practicing tough love by not enabling him. Maya remained silent, allowing him space to continue. When I finally checked my voicemail that night, his messages were different, clear, sober. He said he'd been clean for 2 months, that he had important news, that he needed his brother. Ethan's voice wavered slightly. I tried calling back immediately, but he didn't answer. The police found him the next morning, overdose. I'm so sorry, Maya said softly. The autopsy showed he had been clean before that final dose. The shelter where he'd been staying confirmed he'd completed their recovery program. He was turning his life around, and I wasn't there when he reached out. You couldn't have known, Maya offered. No, but I should have answered. Instead, I was closing a deal to build luxury condominiums while my brother died alone under a bridge. Ethan's hands clenched into fists. That's what Hunter knows. What he's threatening to make public. The full extent of my failure. Maya stood and joined him at the window. Ethan, we've all failed people we love. Sometimes with devastating consequences. Did you? Yes, she admitted. After David died, I was so consumed by grief and financial panic that I missed how badly Noah was suffering. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. By the time I realized how serious it was, he'd lost 15 pounds and was having panic attacks at school. She wiped away an unexpected tear. I was his mother, his only remaining parent, and I failed to see his pain because I was drowning in my own. What happened? His teacher intervened, got him into a support group for children who've lost parents. It helped, but Maya shook her head. I'll always carry that guilt, always wonder how I could have missed something so obvious. How did you move forward? Ethan asked. By accepting that I couldn't change the past, only the present. By trying to be better, do better each day. They stood in silence, watching the children outside. Despite the rain, Lily had convinced Noah to help her build what appeared to be a fort from garden furniture and old sheets Mrs. Chen had provided. If Hunter makes the full story public, Ethan said finally, it could damage the project's credibility. People might see it as exactly what he claims, a guilt-driven vanity project rather than a legitimate community development. Then we need to change the narrative, Maya replied. Not by hiding the truth, but by incorporating it into something larger. What do you mean? The West Side Project isn't just about housing. It's about second chances, about creating safety nets that weren't there for Michael or for my family. Maya turned to face him directly. What if we established a foundation in Michael's name, focused specifically on addiction recovery services, mental health support, family reunification? Ethan stared at her, the idea resonating deeply. A foundation? The Michael Parker Foundation, Maya continued. It could be a central partner in the West Side Project, but also extend beyond it, supporting similar initiatives citywide. Hunter would claim it's just another attempt at redemption. Ethan pointed out. Let him. The work would speak for itself. Before they could discuss further, Sophia called with urgent news. The Business Journal is running a feature tomorrow, she reported. They've obtained Michael's autopsy report, text messages between you two, and interviews with people who knew him during his last months. Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. How? Those records should be private. Hunter, Sophia said grimly. He's been thorough. After ending the call, Ethan explained the situation to Maya. This is crossing a line, she said angrily, using, your brother's death this way is unconscionable. It's also effective, Ethan acknowledged. The timing is deliberate. The city council votes on our zoning request next week. Maya's expression hardened with determination. Then we need to act immediately, not defensively, but proactively. How? By embracing the truth completely. By honoring Michael's memory properly. She reached for her phone. I'm calling Dr. Rivera and the community leaders we've been working with, and every reporter who's covered this story. What are you planning? Maya's eyes shone with fierce purpose. A reckoning, Ethan. But not the one Hunter expects. The next morning, as dawn broke, over the city, an unusual gathering took place at the West Side property. Community members, healthcare workers, addiction specialists, and several carefully selected journalists assembled near the spot where Maya and her children had once sheltered. Ethan stood before them. No podium, no prepared statement, no corporate trappings. Just a man speaking his truth. 15 years ago today, my brother Michael died on these streets, he began, his voice carrying in the morning stillness. He was 23 years old, had fought bravely against addiction, and was trying to rebuild his life. I failed him when he needed me most. A failure I've carried every day since. Maya stood nearby, lending silent support as Ethan continued. Today, we're announcing the establishment of the Michael Parker Foundation, dedicated to providing the support systems my brother needed but didn't have. This foundation will partner with the Westside Community Development to create not just housing but healing. Dr. Rivera stepped forward to outline the comprehensive healthcare approach. Community leaders spoke about their involvement in shaping the project. Maya described how integrated services could have changed her family's trajectory after her husband's death. As the sun climbed higher, Ethan concluded the gathering with a direct response to Hunter's machinations. Some will say this project is motivated by guilt, he acknowledged. They're partly right. But guilt alone accomplishes nothing. It's what we build from our mistakes that matters. My brother deserved better than he received from me, from society, from the systems that failed him. I can't change that past, but together we can create a different future for those facing similar challenges today. When the event concluded, Maya found Ethan standing alone at the edge of the property. Are you okay? She asked gently. Yes, he replied, and seemed surprised to realize it was true. For the first time in 15 years, I think Michael would be proud of what I'm doing. I think he would too, Maya agreed. She hesitated, then added, Noah asked if he could help design the community center. He's been working on ideas with Lily. Ethan smiled. I'd like that very much. As they walked back toward the gathered community members, Ethan felt a weight lifting, not completely gone, perhaps never completely gone, but transformed into something that could finally, possibly, do some good. The City Council has voted to delay the rezoning decision pending further environmental impact studies, Gregory announced, his usually composed demeanor showing signs of strain. Mills's legal team submitted new evidence at the last minute, claims of potential soil contamination from previous industrial use. Ethan sat back in his chair, the conference room suddenly feeling too small. The project team, Maya, Dr. Rivera, community organizers, architects, exchanged concerned glances. Is there any merit to these claims? Maya asked. Possibly. Ethan admitted. The property was near a manufacturing plant in the 1970s. We conducted standard environmental assessments that showed acceptable levels, but more extensive testing could take months. Months we don't have, Dr. Rivera pointed out. Winter is coming. People are already preparing for another season of inadequate shelter. Ethan rubbed his temples, frustration mounting. Despite the positive reception to the Michael Parker Foundation announcement, Hunter had outmaneuvered them at the regulatory level. What about temporary structures? Suggested Marcus, the young man from the encampment who had joined their planning team. Something to get people through the winter while the testing happens? The current zoning wouldn't allow it, Gregory explained. We'd need special permits, which Mills would undoubtedly challenge. Maya had been quiet, studying the site. Maps spread across the table. What about the adjacent property? The one with the abandoned church? Ethan shook his head. Not suitable for housing without major renovations. And we don't own it. But the church itself is structurally sound, Maya pressed. Could it serve as a temporary shelter? As a religious building, it might have different zoning considerations. Gregory looked thoughtful. She's right. Religious institutions have certain exemptions. If we partnered with the church organization that still technically owns the property, I know the pastor, Dr. Rivera offered. Their congregation moved to a new location years ago, but they've kept the old building, hoping to repurpose it. Somehow, a plan began to form. They would approach the church about a partnership, create a temporary shelter in the existing structure, and continue fighting for the larger project approval. By the time the meeting concluded, the mood had shifted from defeat to cautious determination. As the team dispersed, Ethan asked Maya to stay behind. This delay could extend for months, he warned. If Mills succeeds in tying up the project indefinitely, we adapt, Maya said firmly. Find alternatives. Keep moving forward. Your contract with the foundation is not what this is about, she interrupted. Ethan, this project stopped being just a job for me a long time ago. Their eyes met in silent understanding. Over the weeks of working together, their professional partnership had gradually evolved into something deeper, a connection neither had anticipated or fully acknowledged. I should check on the children, Maya said, breaking the moment. Noah's been asking when construction will start. He's excited about implementing some of his design ideas. Let me drive you, Ethan offered. I'd like to see those designs myself. The apartment building looked ordinary from the outside. A modern mid-rise, in a decent neighborhood close to the children's school, but something felt wrong as they approached. The usual security guard was absent from his post and the main door stood slightly ajar. Maya tensed immediately. Something's not right. They rushed inside, taking the elevator to the 4th floor. Maya's door was intact, no signs of forced entry, but when she inserted her key, she found it already unlocked. Stay behind me, Ethan said quietly, pushing the door open cautiously. The apartment appeared undisturbed at first glance. Then Maya gasped, rushing toward the children's bedroom. Their backpacks are gone. School things. Favorite toys. She turned to Ethan, panic rising. They should be here with Mrs. Chen. School ended hours ago. Ethan's phone was already in his hand, calling his housekeeper. Mrs. Chen? Are you with the children? The relief on his face was immediate. Thank God, where are you? Why did you leave the apartment? He listened, his expression darkening. I understand. No, you did exactly the right thing. We'll come to you immediately. What happened? Maya demanded as soon as he ended the call. They're safe, Ethan assured her. At my house. Mrs. Chen took them there after a man came to the door claiming to be from social services. He said there had been a complaint about the children's living situation. What? That's absurd. Mrs. Chen thought so too. She refused to let him in and called building security, but when no one responded, she decided to take the children somewhere safer. She grabbed what she could carry and left through the back exit. Maya's hands trembled as the implication sank in. This wasn't random. Someone deliberately targeted my children. Mills, Ethan said grimly. This has his fingerprints all over it. But a fake social worker? That's beyond unethical. It's criminal. He's getting desperate. Our foundation announcement changed the narrative, generated public support. This is his countermove, trying to frighten you, discredit the project. Maya paced the small living room, anger replacing fear. Using my children as pawns, I won't forgive this. We need to call the police, Ethan said, already dialing. And we should stay at my house tonight. It's more secure. The police took statements but seemed skeptical about the connection to Hunter Mills. without clear evidence linking him to the fake social worker. There was little they could do beyond filing a report. At Ethan's mansion, Maya found her children in the kitchen with Mrs. Chen, baking cookies, as if nothing unusual had happened. Mrs. Chen had presented the sudden departure as an adventure, shielding them from the frightening reality. "Mom!" Lily ran to embrace her. "We're making Mrs. Chen's special cookies. And guess what? She said I can design a garden for the backyard." Noah hung back, his perceptive eyes taking in the adults. Tense expressions. Something happened, didn't it? Later, after the children were settled in guest rooms larger than their entire apartment, Maya and Ethan sat in his study discussing options. "You can't return to that apartment," Ethan insisted. "It's not secure enough. We can't just move in." "Here indefinitely," Maya countered. "Why not? The house has 12 bedrooms, most of them never get used." "Because it would confirm exactly what Hunter is trying to suggest, that I'm using my children's situation to take advantage of your guilt." Ethan leaned forward intently. "Maya, listen to me. This has gone beyond business rivalry or public relations. Mills involved your children today. He crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. So what do? First, you and the children stay here where it's safe. Second, we accelerate the church shelter plan to show continuous progress despite the rezoning delay. And third," Ethan's expression hardened, "I deal with Hunter Mills once and for all." "How?" Maya asked, alarmed by his tone. "By giving him what he wants. The West Side property, after everything we've worked for?" "No," Ethan said. "By giving him the victory he really seeks. Public vindication, acknowledgement that he was right about me all along." "I don't understand." Ethan sighed, suddenly looking exhausted. "Hunter's crusade isn't really about the property or even the money. It's about exposing me as a fraud, confirming his narrative that I'm a manipulative businessman trying to whitewash my reputation through charity. But that's not true. Not anymore. What's true doesn't always matter in these situations. Perception does." Ethan stood and paced the room. "If I publicly step back from the project, remove myself as the face of the foundation, transfer control to independent trustees, Hunter loses his primary target." "That's ridiculous," Maya protested. "This is your project, your vision." "No," Ethan corrected gently. "It became our vision, and it's bigger than either of us now." Before Maya could argue further, Noah appeared in the doorway, clutching something in his hand. "I can't sleep," he admitted. "Too weird being in a new place." Maya opened her arms and Noah came to sit beside her on the sofa. Ethan noticed he was holding a small model building, the project he'd been working on in the garden. "Is that your design for the community center?" Ethan asked. Noah nodded, hesitantly offering it for inspection. "It's probably not very good. I just used whatever materials I could find." Ethan accepted the model carefully. It was crude but surprisingly thoughtful, a central circular space with wings extending outward like spokes. "The middle part is for everyone," Noah explained. "Common areas, dining, meeting spaces. The wings are for different services. Health clinic, job training, childcare, housing assistance." "It's brilliant," Ethan said sincerely. "The circular design creates natural gathering spaces while the extensions allow for privacy and specialized services." Noah looked skeptical of the praise. "Really? Really?" In fact, Ethan set the model on his desk and opened his computer. "Let me show you something." He pulled up the architect's latest renders for the community center, a conventional rectangular building with efficient but uninspiring spaces. "Your design is better," Ethan declared. "More intuitive, more welcoming." Noah studied the professional renders with interest. "You could still use some of these ideas. The solar panels on the roof, the courtyards between buildings. A collaboration," Ethan suggested. "Would you be willing to work with our architects to incorporate your concept?" For the first time since they'd met, Noah's serious face broke into a genuine smile. "Yeah, I'd like that." Maya watched this exchange with a mixture of pride and concern. Her son was blossoming under Ethan's attention, finding confidence and purpose, yet their entire situation remained precarious. The project stalled, their housing insecure. Hunter Mills's threats looming. As if reading her thoughts, Noah turned to her. "Mom, are we in trouble? Is that why we had to leave our apartment?" Maya hesitated, unwilling to lie but not wanting to frighten him. "There are some complications with the project," Ethan answered carefully. "Some people don't want it to succeed. But we're working through those challenges." "Because of the bad man from the press conference?" Noah asked perceptively. "Partly," Ethan admitted. Noah studied his model thoughtfully. "At school, There's this kid who always tries to wreck other people's projects if they're better than his. The teachers tell us not to let him win by giving up. Wise advice, Ethan said. Noah looked up, his young face suddenly determined. I don't want to give up on our center. I want to build it for real. Maya hugged her son close, his simple declaration somehow cutting through all the complex adult considerations. Then we won't give up, she promised. We'll find another way. Ethan watched them, the boy's makeshift model still in his hands. 15 years of guilt and regret had led him to this moment, to these people who had somehow become essential to his life, to a project that represented not just atonement, but possibility. He set the model down gently. I think I know what we need to do. The library of Ethan's mansion had been transformed into a war room. Maps, diagrams, and documents covered every surface. The core project team, expanded now to include additional legal counsel, community, organizers, and environmental experts, gathered around the massive oak table. Hunter's environmental challenge is a delay tactic, not a genuine concern, Ethan explained, pointing to a detailed site assessment. Our original tests were thorough, but we'll conduct the additional studies he's demanding, and we'll do them faster than anyone expects. Gregory nodded. I've arranged for an independent environmental firm to begin work tomorrow. Their reputation is beyond reproach, and they've agreed to prioritize our case. Meanwhile, Maya continued, we're finalizing the agreement with Cornerstone Church to use their building as a temporary shelter and service center. Renovations can begin immediately since the structure is already zoned for community use. Dr. Rivera spread out blueprints of the old church. We'll convert the sanctuary into a dormitory space, the classrooms into medical examination rooms, and counseling offices. The basement can serve as a dining area and job training facility. What about funding? Asked one of the community representatives. If the main project is delayed indefinitely, the Michael Parker Foundation is fully funded regardless of the West Side project status, Ethan assured them. Initial capital of $50 million, with guaranteed annual contributions. The group's eyes widened at the figure. That's considerable, Marcus commented. It's necessary, Ethan replied simply, and long overdue. As the meeting progressed, Sophia entered with a tablet in hand. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you all need to see. She connected the device to the room's projection system. A news report filled the screen, showing Hunter Mills standing before a group of reporters. Mr. Mills, can you elaborate on your concerns about the West Side project? A journalist asked. Hunter adjusted his tie, clearly enjoying the attention. Beyond the environmental issues, which are substantial, there's the matter of Parker's true motivations. This sudden philanthropy conveniently appeared when his business practices came under scrutiny. What about the Michael Parker Foundation? Doesn't that demonstrate genuine commitment to addressing homelessness? Hunter's expression hardened. It demonstrates Ethan Parker's skill at manipulating public opinion. Creating a foundation named after his brother, whose death he exploits for sympathy, doesn't erase years of predatory business tactics. Maya glanced at Ethan, concerned about his reaction to this public reference to Michael, but his face remained calm, focused. Mr. Mills, another reporter called. You've filed multiple legal challenges to the project. Critics suggest you're simply bitter about being outmaneuvered in a business deal. This isn't about one deal, Hunter insisted. It's about protecting the integrity of the development process. Parker manipulated information to acquire that property undervalue. Who's to say he isn't manipulating public sympathy now? Sophia muted the feed. It gets worse. He's scheduled a town hall meeting next week to address community concerns about the West Side development. He's positioning himself as the neighborhood's protector. Classic misdirection, Ethan observed, surprising everyone with his detachment. He's trying to reframe the narrative, make himself the hero, make us the threat. What do we do? Dr. Rivera asked. We can't let him turn the community against us. We don't fight the battle he's chosen, Ethan replied. We change the game entirely. He moved to a clear whiteboard and began outlining a new strategy. First, transparency. We release everything. All financial models, all environmental data, all partnership agreements. Make it impossible for anyone to claim we're hiding anything. Won't that expose proprietary business information? Gregory asked, concerned. Yes, Ethan acknowledged. And that's precisely the point. We're demonstrating that this isn't business. As usual, he continued writing. Second, community ownership. We restructure the project to give local residents direct involvement in governance and eventual equity. Like a community land trust? Maya suggested. Exactly. The foundation provides initial capital, but over time, residents build equity through various participation mechanisms. Marcus leaned forward, intrigued. That would address concerns about gentrification. If current residents have ownership stakes, they benefit from improvements rather than being displaced by them. Third, Ethan continued, we expand. Hunter expects us to retreat, to focus narrowly on defending the West Side project. Instead, we announce additional sites, creating a network of interconnected community developments throughout the city. This generated surprised murmurs around the table. Is that financially feasible? Someone asked. Yes, Ethan confirmed. I've been quietly acquiring strategic properties over the past month. Properties Hunter wanted but couldn't secure. Sophia smiled slightly. That explains all those mysterious meetings. And finally, Ethan said, completing his outline, we invite Hunter Mills to join us. The room fell silent. Join us? Gregory repeated incredulously. The man is trying to destroy everything we're building. Precisely why we need to change his perspective, Ethan explained. Hunter is a skilled developer with valuable expertise. If we can channel his competitive energy into collaboration instead of opposition, everyone benefits. Maya studied Ethan with new appreciation. The man who had once manipulated markets for personal gain was now applying that same strategic thinking to social impact. He'll refuse, Dr. Rivera predicted. Initially, yes, Ethan agreed. But we make the offer publicly, sincerely, repeatedly. We acknowledge his legitimate concerns, incorporate his feedback where appropriate, and keep the door open. The strategy session continued late into the evening, refining approaches and assigning responsibilities. As the meeting concluded, Noah appeared at the doorway, a folder tucked under his arm. Mom said I could show you these, he said, approaching Ethan somewhat shyly. I worked on them all day. Inside the folder were detailed sketches expanding on his community center design. Despite his lack of formal training, Noah had an intuitive understanding of how spaces could function to meet people's needs. These are impressive, Ethan said, genuinely amazed. Especially the circular courtyard design. Noah pointed to features on his drawing. The curve makes it feel safer than straight lines and corners. And everyone can see each other, which builds community. The adults exchanged glances, struck by the wisdom in the boy's simple explanation. Would you mind if I share these with our architects? Ethan asked. Noah nodded, then hesitated before adding, I heard what that man said about your brother. The room grew quiet. Maya moved to intervene, but Ethan shook his head slightly. What did you think about it? He asked Noah. I think he's wrong, Noah replied with the straightforward clarity of youth. Using someone's name for something good isn't exploiting them. It's honoring them. Ethan felt an unexpected tightness in his throat. That's a very wise perspective. My dad died too, Noah continued. Mom always says we honor him by living the way he taught us to. I think your brother would be proud of what you're doing with his name. Maya watched this exchange with moist eyes, seeing both her son and Ethan in a new light. Noah, who had been so guarded and suspicious, was offering emotional support to a man he'd once viewed with distrust. And Ethan, receiving this simple wisdom with genuine gratitude rather than condescension. Later, after the team had dispersed and the children were asleep, Maya found Ethan still in the library, reviewing Noah's designs alongside the professional. Architectural plans, he has a gift, Ethan commented as she joined him. An instinct for how spaces affect people. He gets that from his father, Maya said softly. David was always arranging our home to create what he called pockets of peace, little areas designed for connection or reflection. You must miss him very much. Every day, Maya acknowledged. But it's different now than it was a year ago. Less raw. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, the late hour and shared purpose creating an unusual intimacy. Do you really think Hunter will ever come around? Maya finally asked. Probably not, Ethan admitted. But extending the invitation changes the dynamic. It positions us as collaborative rather than combative. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do. When did you become so focused on doing the right thing? The question wasn't accusatory, merely curious. Ethan considered this. I'm not sure. Somewhere between seeing you helping your children with homework under that overpass and watching Noah explain his design ideas with such conviction. That doesn't sound like guilt. It sounds like inspiration. Maybe they're not always separate, Ethan suggested. Maybe guilt can be the catalyst, but something else entirely becomes the sustaining force. Maya nodded thoughtfully. David used to say that transformation doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens in the small daily choices that gradually align with who you want to become. Wise man, your husband. Yes, he would have liked you, I think, eventually. They shared a smile, acknowledging the improbability of their partnership, the unexpected turn both their lives had taken. Get some rest, Ethan said finally. Tomorrow we start implementing our new strategy. And if I know Hunter Mills, he'll respond quickly and forcefully. We'll be ready, Maya assured him, gathering her notes. At the door, she paused. Ethan, thank you for what you said to Noah. About his designs. I meant every word. I know. That's why it matters. After she left, Ethan remained in the library, surrounded by plans and possibilities. For the first time since Michael's death, he felt as though he was building something that mattered. Not just physically, but in the lives of people who had come to mean more to him than he could have imagined. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Hunter's inevitable counterattacks. But tonight, in the quiet of his home that no longer felt empty, Ethan recognized that something fundamental had shifted. He was no longer fighting against his past. He was building toward a future. Hunter Mills's town hall meeting was scheduled to begin in 30 minutes, and the community center was already packed. Local residents, business owners, and media representatives filled the seats, creating a buzz of anticipation. In a small room off the main hall, Hunter reviewed his presentation with his legal team. The slides were designed to raise maximum alarm about the West Side project, environmental concerns highlighted in bold red, property value projections showing devastating declines, traffic studies suggesting gridlock. This should effectively kill any remaining support, Hunter remarked with satisfaction. Once the neighborhood turns against Parker, the city council won't dare approve the rezoning. His lead attorney nodded. The environmental angle is particularly effective. People get emotional about potential contamination, and we've got those. 2 former encampment residents ready to testify about feeling used by Parker's team? Yes, though they're demanding more money now. They know this is high profile. Hunter waved dismissively. Pay them whatever they want. Their stories about Parker exploiting the homeless for publicity are worth it. A junior associate entered, looking anxious. Mr. Mills? There's something you should see. He handed Hunter a tablet displaying a breaking news alert. Whistleblower reveals developer knew of toxic contamination at luxury condo site. Hunter's face drained of color as he read further. A former environmental compliance officer at Mills Development had provided documented evidence that Hunter had buried reports of dangerous chemical levels at 3 previous development sites, proceeding with construction despite known risks. To future residents, this is libelous, Hunter sputtered. Who published this? Every major outlet in the city, the associate replied nervously. It's gone viral on social media too. And there's more. The whistleblower claims you specifically ordered tests on the West Side property before selling to Parker, and those tests showed acceptable contamination levels, contradicting your current claims. Hunter grabbed his phone, frantically calling his PR team. Kill this story immediately. Threaten legal action, whatever it takes. The door opened again, this time revealing his executive assistant. Mr. Mills, there's a situation in the main hall. People are leaving. What? The meeting hasn't even started. They're going across the street. Parker's team has set up some kind of exhibition in the vacant storefront. They're displaying all their documents, environmental reports, financial, models, design plans, everything. Hunter stormed into the main hall to find it half empty, with more people streaming toward the exits. Through the windows, he could see crowds gathering at a previously empty retail space across the street, now transformed into an information center with large displays and interactive screens. What is he playing at? Hunter muttered, marching toward the door. Outside, the contrast was stark. While Hunter's town hall had been set up as a traditional presentation, him speaking from a podium to passive listeners, Ethan's space was interactive and transparent. Community members engaged directly with project team members stationed at different information stations. Maya led a health services discussion. Dr. Rivera explained medical facility plans, and environmental experts detailed testing procedures, with actual soil samples and equipment. Most surprisingly, at the center of it all stood Ethan himself, not presenting but listening, as Noah explained his community center design concept to an attentive group of local architects and residents. The idea came from thinking about how people need both connection and privacy, Noah was saying, his initial shyness replaced by enthusiasm as he pointed to his model. The circular design means everyone can see gathering spaces from their private areas, so they never feel isolated. An elderly resident nodded, appreciatively. Reminds me of how neighborhoods used to be built around commons where everyone could come together. Hunter pushed through the crowd, fury building as he saw his carefully orchestrated opposition crumbling before his eyes. He reached Ethan just as Noah concluded his presentation to warm applause. "Parker," Hunter hissed. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Ethan turned calmly. "Providing full transparency about our project. Something you might consider regarding your own developments, particularly in light of today's news." "Those allegations are completely false," Hunter seethed. "And I'll sue that whistleblower and anyone who publishes their lies into oblivion." "Edward Chen is prepared for that," Ethan replied. "He has extensive documentation. Copies are all ready. With the EPA, the District Attorney's Office, and several media outlets." Hunter froze. "How did you know the whistleblower's name? I just found out myself." "Because he came to us first," Maya said, joining them, "looking for assurance that if he exposed your environmental violations, the Westside Project would actually address the community's needs properly." "You orchestrated this," Hunter accused Ethan. "You found a disgruntled employee and coached him to fabricate evidence." "No coaching was necessary," came a new voice. A middle-aged man in a practical suit approached, extending his hand to Ethan. "Mr. Parker, I'm Edward Chen, former Environmental Compliance Director for Mills Development. Thank you for encouraging me to do the right thing." Hunter's face contorted with rage. "Chen, you're fired, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again." "You fired me 3 months ago," Edward replied calmly. "When I refused to falsify reports on the Riverside Project. That's when I started documenting everything." As Hunter struggled for a response, Gregory appeared with several official-looking documents. "Perfect timing," he said. "Hunter, these just came from the city's environmental division. The expedited testing results for the Westside property. No dangerous contamination levels detected, consistent with our original findings." Hunter grabbed the papers, scanning them desperately for any ammunition. Finding none, he threw them to the ground. "This isn't over, Parker. I still have other legal challenges pending." "The rezoning has been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission," Gregory interrupted. "In light of the new community ownership structure and the environmental clearance, they've fast-tracked the process." The crowd had gathered around them now, sensing drama. Hunter looked from face to face, seeing no allies, only curious or hostile expressions. "You've all been manipulated," he attempted, addressing the onlookers. "Parker is a con man. He's built his entire career on deception." "Perhaps," Ethan acknowledged, surprising everyone. "But people can change. Projects can have integrity even if their originators are flawed. And some people never change," Maya added pointedly. "Still willing to endanger families with toxic buildings while claiming to protect community interests." Hunter recognized defeat when he saw it. His town hall abandoned, his credibility shattered, his legal challenges crumbling. With a final venomous glare at Ethan, he pushed his way through the crowd and out the door. As he stormed away, Sophia approached Ethan with a tablet displaying incoming news alerts. "The whistleblower story is dominating every outlet," she reported. "The district attorney's office has announced a preliminary investigation into Mills developments, and 3 homeowner associations in his luxury buildings have announced plans to file suit. Karma," Dr. Rivera commented, "is remarkably efficient." Sometimes, Noah, who had been watching the confrontation with wide eyes, tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Is it over? Did we win?" "I think so," Ethan replied, ruffling the boy's hair gently. "Thanks in large part to your design. You were the star of the show today." Noah's serious face broke into a rare smile. "Really?" "Absolutely," confirmed one of the architects who had been examining his model. "Young man, you have genuine talent. If you're interested in pursuing architecture, I'd be happy to mentor you." As the crowd returned to exploring the exhibition, Maya pulled Ethan aside. "Did you know about the whistleblower, the contamination at Mills' other sites?" Ethan hesitated. "I suspected. Hunter's profit margins were always suspiciously high on certain developments. So when Edward Chen approached us, I wasn't entirely surprised." "And you never considered using that information just to win?" Maya pressed. "The old Ethan would have. The thought occurred to me," he admitted. "But this wasn't about beating Hunter. It was about protecting people from genuinely dangerous conditions. Edward needed support to come forward, not a backroom deal." Maya studied him, seeing the truth in his eyes. "You really have changed, as have you," Ethan observed. The Maya Wilson I first met would never have believed a billionaire could be anything but exploitative. She smiled, acknowledging the point. I guess we've both had our perspectives adjusted. Across the room, Lily was proudly showing her artwork to visitors. Colorful renderings of the proposed development gardens. Each drawing featured a different type of person enjoying the space. Elderly residents tending vegetables, children playing, community members gathering for meals. Will the gardens really look like this? An older woman asked Lily. Even better, Lily assured her confidently, because real people will be in them, not just drawings. As the evening progressed, the exhibition transformed into an impromptu celebration. Someone brought food from a nearby restaurant. Another person set up speakers with music. Community members who had arrived as skeptics stayed as enthusiastic supporters. Ethan found himself in conversation with longtime residents, listening to their hopes and concerns for the neighborhood. No longer were they viewing him as an outsider, a developer to be feared. Something had shifted fundamentally in their perception and in his own understanding of his role. Later, as the crowd finally began to disperse, Gregory approached with his tablet. You should see this, he said, showing Ethan an email that had just arrived. It was from Hunter Mill's attorney, proposing settlement terms for all pending litigation, in exchange for Ethan's agreement not to pursue further investigation into Mills's past projects. Hunter would withdraw all challenges to the Westside development. He's running scared, Gregory observed. The whistleblower revelations have him cornered. What will you do? Maya asked, reading over Ethan's shoulder. Ethan considered the offer carefully. Tell him we'll drop any personal claims I might have against him for defamation or business interference. But we won't impede any investigations into environmental violations. Those need to proceed for the safety of the residents. Gregory nodded. Fair enough. I'll draft the response. As the last visitors departed, the core team gathered for an impromptu debriefing. The day had brought unexpected victories on multiple fronts. Community support, regulatory approvals, Hunter's retreat. So, what happens now? Marcus asked. We've cleared the obstacles. When do we actually start building? Ethan looked around at the team that had come together over the past months. Diverse in background and expertise. United in purpose. Immediately, he replied. Groundbreaking for the temporary facilities at the church next week, and for the main development as soon as the final permits come through. And Hunter? Dr. Rivera asked. Do we need to worry about further retaliation? I doubt it, Sophia interjected. He'll be too busy with legal defenses and salvaging his reputation to bother us further. As the meeting concluded, Ethan found Noah examining the architectural renderings that incorporated elements of his design. What do you think? Ethan asked. Did they capture your vision? Noah traced the curved lines of the community center thoughtfully. It's better than I imagined because it's real now. It's actually going to happen. Yes, Ethan confirmed. It really is. And in that moment, looking at the boy's face illuminated with pride and purpose, Ethan realized that some transformations were already complete, while others were just beginning. Morning. Sunlight streamed through the windows of the courthouse as Ethan reviewed the final documents with Gregory. The papers before them represented months of careful planning and negotiation, the legal framework for transferring ownership of the Westside property to the newly established Community Land Trust. Once you sign these, Gregory explained, the land will be held in perpetuity for affordable housing and community services. You'll retain no controlling interest. Ethan nodded, pen poised over the signature line. And the governance structure? It's finalized? Yes. The board consists of 5 community representatives, 2 healthcare professionals, 2 housing experts, and Maya as executive director of community services. A brief smile crossed Ethan's face at the mention of Maya. Over the past 3 months, as the project had progressed from concept to reality, their professional partnership had gradually evolved into something deeper, a connection neither had anticipated but both now cherished. And the funding mechanism? Ethan asked, returning to business. The Michael Parker Foundation provides initial capital and operational support for the first 5 years. After that, the mixed-income housing model and commercial spaces should generate sufficient revenue for sustainability. Ethan signed each document with deliberate care, officially releasing control of what had once been merely another real estate acquisition, but had become something far more meaningful. Congratulations, Gregory said as Ethan signed the final page. You've just given away approximately $400 million in potential development value. No, Ethan corrected. I've invested it differently. Outside the courthouse, a Small crowd had gathered for the occasion. The core project team, community members, local officials, and, most importantly to Ethan, Maya and her children waited to witness the formal transfer. As Ethan and Gregory emerged with the completed documents, a cheer went up from the supporters. Cameras flashed as the mayor stepped forward to shake Ethan's hand for the official photographs. "The city commends your vision and generosity, Mr. Parker," the mayor announced for the press. "The West Side Community Development represents a new model for addressing housing insecurity in our city." Maya joined them, looking professional and confident in her role as executive director. "The real work begins now," she reminded everyone. "Today we transfer ownership. Next week we break ground." After the formal ceremony concluded, Ethan found himself pulled aside by a familiar but unexpected figure. "Hunter Mills." "Parker," Hunter acknowledged stiffly. "Hunter, I'm surprised to see you here." Indeed, Hunter's presence was startling given the legal and professional troubles he faced since the whistleblower revelations. His company's stock had plummeted, several projects were under investigation, and his once powerful reputation lay in tatters. "Thought I should see it with my own eyes," Hunter replied. "You actually went through with it. Gave away prime real estate for affordable housing. It was the right thing to do." Hunter studied him with narrowed eyes. The old Ethan Parker wouldn't have given a damn about the right thing. The old Ethan Parker doesn't exist anymore, Ethan said simply. A complex expression crossed Hunter's face. Part resentment, part grudging respect. "My legal team has negotiated a settlement with the DA's office. Substantial fines. Remediation costs for the affected properties, I heard. I'm glad the residents will receive compensation." Hunter shook his head in disbelief. "You know what's ironic? If I'd just admitted the environmental issues with the West Side property up front and worked with you on solutions, I could have been part of this project instead of its opposition." "It's not too late," Ethan suggested. "Your expertise in development could be valuable to the land trust. Once the legal matters are settled, of course." Hunter barked a short laugh. "Rehabilitation through community service? No thanks. The offer stands," Ethan said. "People can change, Hunter. I'm living proof of that." As Hunter walked away, Maya approached with Noah and Lily. "What did he want?" she asked warily. "To see if I'd really go through with it," Ethan replied. "I think part of him still believed this was all an elaborate scheme." Lily tugged at Ethan's hand. "Can we go see the building site now? I want to show Mrs. Chen where my garden designs." "We'll go." "Of course," Ethan smiled. "It's your community now, after all." The West Side property had transformed dramatically in the 3 months since Hunter's opposition had collapsed. Construction equipment stood ready for the groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for the following week. Temporary offices housed the growing project team. The church renovation across the street was nearly complete, already serving as a community center and temporary shelter. As they walked the perimeter, Noah pointed out where his circular community center would eventually stand. "The architect said we can start construction on that section in 3 months, after the initial housing units are underway. You should be proud," Ethan told him. "Your design concept influenced the entire project layout." Noah nodded seriously. "Mom says I might be able to study architecture when I'm older. If I keep my grades up, I have no doubt you will." They continued their tour, greeting workers and community members who had become familiar faces over the months of planning. The atmosphere was one of purpose and possibility, so different from the suspicion that had initially greeted Ethan's involvement. Near the future location of the health clinic, they found Dr. Rivera deep in conversation with a group of medical students who had volunteered to support the project. "Recruiting already?" Maya asked her. "These brilliant minds have agreed to establish a community health rotation here," Dr. Rivera confirmed proudly, connecting their education directly to underserved populations. As the day progressed, more supporters gathered for an informal celebration of the property transfer. Someone brought food from a local restaurant. Another set up speakers playing music. Children from the neighborhood joined Lily in creating colorful chalk drawings on the temporary walkways, depicting their visions for the future community. Amid the festivities, Ethan found himself standing slightly apart, watching it all with a sense of wonder. This vibrant gathering on what had once been merely a real estate opportunity represented a transformation far deeper than the physical changes planned for the property. Maya joined him, following his gaze across the celebration. "Quite different from when we first met," she observed. "In every possible way," he agreed. "Having second thoughts about giving away your valuable real estate?" she teased gently. "Not for a moment." Ethan turned to face her fully. Maya, I need to tell you something. Her expression grew serious, hearing the change in his tone. What is it? I'm stepping back from direct involvement in the project. What? Why? Because it needs to truly belong to the community now, he explained. My continued presence could undermine that ownership, make it seem like I'm still controlling things from behind the scenes. Maya processed this. Her brow furrowed. But we're partners in this. Your expertise, your connections, we still need those. And you'll have them. I'll remain available as a consultant, a resource, but the visible leadership needs to come from you and the community board. This feels sudden, Maya said, studying him closely. There's more to this decision, isn't there? Ethan sighed. You know me too well already. He glanced toward where the children were playing. Noah and Lily have thrived these past months, found stability, purpose, community. But I worry that my close association with your family might eventually become complicated. Understanding dawned in Maya's eyes. You mean our personal relationship? Yes, Ethan acknowledged. What's developing between us is important to me. More important than I expected anything could be again. But I don't want it to create confusion about the project. Give ammunition to critics who might claim you're unduly influenced. So you're putting distance between yourself and the project to protect both it and us? That's the hope, he admitted. Maya was quiet for a long moment, watching her children among the community they had helped create. I appreciate the intention, she said finally, but I think you're underestimating both the community's understanding and my own ability to manage perceptions. Perhaps, Ethan conceded, but this project has always been about doing things the right way even when it's difficult. And what about the foundation? Will you distance yourself from that too? No. The Michael Parker Foundation will remain my primary focus, funding this and similar projects but with independent governance and transparency. Their conversation was interrupted by Gregory, who approached with an urgent expression. Ethan, there's a situation, he said quietly. Hunter Mills is back, and he's not alone. They turned to see Hunter approaching across the property, accompanied by a group of suited individuals who had the unmistakable look of corporate attorneys. What now? Maya muttered. Hasn't he caused enough trouble? Hunter stopped before them, his expression unreadable. Parker, Ms. Wilson, I apologize for interrupting your celebration. What do you want, Hunter? Ethan asked directly. To make amends, Hunter replied, surprising them both. In my own way. He gestured to one of the attorneys who stepped forward with a document folder. These are the deeds to 3 additional properties adjacent to this development. Hunter explained. I'm donating them to your land trust with the stipulation that they be used to expand the affordable housing component of the project. Ethan and Maya exchanged stunned glances. Why? Ethan asked simply. Hunter's usual confidence faltered slightly. The DA's investigation was enlightening. I've built a career creating luxury housing that most people can't afford, often at the expense of existing communities. The settlement requires community investment, but the specific form was my choice. Gregory examined the documents carefully. These appear legitimate. Clean titles, no encumbrances. Of course they're legitimate, Hunter said, irritation flickering across his features. I may have cut corners on environmental compliance, but I don't forge property documents. Maya studied him with skeptical eyes. And there are no hidden conditions? No way for you to reclaim these properties later? None, Hunter assured her. They belong to the land trust now, irrevocably. My only condition is that they be used consistent with the West Side Project's mission. Affordable housing, community services. Ethan extended his hand. Thank you, Hunter. This is unexpected but deeply appreciated. After a moment's hesitation, Hunter shook it. Don't mistake this for a complete change of heart, Parker. I'm still a developer, still driven by profit, but perhaps there's room for a different approach on some projects. As Hunter and his legal team departed, the news of the additional land donation spread quickly through the gathering. The celebration took on new energy, with community members already discussing how the expanded footprint would allow for more housing units, additional green spaces. At the temporary stage set up for the day's speeches, Maya took the microphone, drawing everyone's attention. Today marks not just a legal transfer of property, but the birth of a new kind of community, she began, one built on principles of inclusion, dignity, and shared ownership. She acknowledged the many partners who had made the project possible, from city officials to community organizers to healthcare providers. Then she turned toward Ethan. But none of this would have been possible without one person's willingness to see beyond profit, beyond conventional wisdom, beyond his own past. Ethan Parker didn't just donate land. He helped us reimagine what community development could be. Ethan hadn't planned to speak, had intended to keep a low profile, but as Maya beckoned him to the stage, the genuine warmth from the gathered crowd made refusal impossible. Standing before the microphone, looking out at the diverse faces that had become familiar over months of collaboration, Ethan found himself momentarily at a loss for words. When I first acquired this property, he began finally, it was just another deal, another asset. I had no idea it would become the catalyst for the most meaningful work of my life. His gaze found Noah and Lily in the crowd, standing with Mrs. Chen, who had become like a grandmother to them. Sometimes transformation comes from unexpected places, from a family finding strength in the most difficult circumstances, from a community refusing to be defined by hardship, from learning to see value beyond balance sheets. He gestured toward the construction equipment waiting at the edges of the property. Next week we break ground on the buildings, but today we've already broken ground on something far more important, a new understanding of what we can accomplish when we truly see each other as neighbors, as partners, as community. The groundbreaking ceremony the following week was brief but meaningful. Under a clear blue sky, community representatives, project leaders, and local officials gathered with silver shovels to turn the first soil. Ethan had insisted that Maya lead the ceremony as executive director, with Noah and Lily joining her for the symbolic first dig. As cameras flashed and applause rose from the gathered crowd, Ethan watched from a respectful distance. The property no longer belonged to him, legally or spiritually. It belonged to the community it would serve, to the future it would help create. After the ceremony, as bulldozers moved in to begin the actual excavation work, Hunter Mills approached Ethan once more. Quite the spectacle, he observed. You've managed to transform giving away a fortune into a public relations triumph. That wasn't the goal, Ethan replied mildly. Hunter studied him with lingering skepticism. Perhaps not. But you've certainly reinvented yourself effectively. Not reinvention, Ethan corrected. Evolution. As Hunter walked away, Maya joined Ethan, watching the construction equipment begin its work. So, she said, now that you've officially transferred everything, what's next for Ethan Parker? He smiled, the question echoing one he'd been asking himself. The Foundation has identified several other potential sites across the city, and there are communities in similar need nationwide. Expanding the model, if it proves successful here. Yes, Maya nodded thoughtfully. And what about your other decision? Stepping back from direct involvement? Still necessary, I think, for the project's independence, and for us? She asked quietly. Ethan turned to face her fully. That's a separate question, one I hope we can explore without the complications of employer-employee dynamics. I'd like that, Maya replied, her expression softening. The children would too. They've grown quite attached to you. As if summoned by mention, Noah and Lily joined them, still wearing the small construction helmets they'd been given for the ceremony. They're actually building it, Noah said, watching the machinery with fascination. My design is really happening. Indeed it is, Ethan confirmed. Though I hear you've already started working on designs for the next phase. Noah nodded seriously. The educational spaces. I've been researching how classrooms can be more effective with different layouts. Lily tugged at Ethan's hand. When will my gardens start? Mrs. Chen says we need to plant by spring for the best flowers. The landscaping phase will begin once the main structures are completed, Ethan explained. But there's no reason you and Mrs. Chen couldn't start planning, and perhaps even preparing seedlings. As the children excitedly discussed their respective projects, Maya and Ethan exchanged a look of shared understanding. What had begun as a business transaction, then evolved into a community development, had ultimately created something neither had anticipated, a found family, connected by purpose rather than blood. The bulldozers continued their work, carving foundations into soil that would soon support homes, health services, community spaces. Physical manifestations of the less visible but more significant foundation they'd already built together. 6 months later, Ethan stood at the edge of the rooftop garden, watching residents tend to the flourishing vegetables and flowers. Below, the Westside community development had transformed from blueprints to reality. The first phase of housing units complete and occupied, the health clinic operational, the community center nearing completion. Impressive, isn't it? Dr. Rivera joined him at the railing. Hard to believe this was just empty land half a year ago. The construction timeline was ambitious, Ethan acknowledged, but necessary. Winter is coming again, and people needed homes. They surveyed the project together. The mixed-income housing units formed a horseshoe around a central courtyard, with Noah's circular community center as the focal point. The renovated church across the street now housed educational facilities, job training programs, and additional, temporary housing. The health clinic operated from a modern facility at the property's edge, already serving hundreds of patients weekly. The integrated services model is working better than I expected, Dr. Rivera noted. Having healthcare, housing assistance, and education in one location makes a tremendous difference for families trying to stabilize their situations. Ethan nodded. Maya's leadership has been essential. Her experience, both as a healthcare professional and as someone who experienced homelessness, gives her unique insight. Speaking of Maya, Dr. Rivera said with a knowing smile, she mentioned you two had dinner last weekend. Not a business meeting, I gather? Ethan's expression softened. No, not business. Since stepping back from direct involvement in the project's management, Ethan had maintained a respectful distance, available for consultation but careful not to undermine the community-led governance structure. This separation had allowed his relationship with Maya to evolve naturally, without the complications of professional hierarchy. She seems happy, Dr. Rivera observed. The children too. Noah's been assisting our architects with the next phase. Designs. That boy has a remarkable spatial intelligence. And Lily's gardens have become the heart of the community, Ethan added, gesturing to the rooftop planting areas where residents of all ages work together. Her intuitive understanding of how natural spaces affect people's well-being is extraordinary. As they spoke. The elevator doors opened and Sophia emerged onto the rooftop. Her role had expanded beyond Ethan's personal assistant to become the Michael Parker Foundation's Chief Operations Officer, overseeing similar projects now developing in 3 other cities. The board members have arrived for the tour, she informed them, including representatives from the Mayor's Housing Task Force. Thank you, Sophia. We'll be right down. In the community center lobby, Maya greeted the visiting officials with professional confidence. 6 months of leadership had honed her natural abilities, transforming her from a struggling single mother into a respected administrator and advocate. She still maintained her nursing certification, occasionally assisting at the clinic during busy periods, but her primary role now involved coordinating the complex web of services that made the West Side project function. Mr. Parker, she acknowledged, formally as Ethan joined the group. Thank you for making time for today's tour. Though their personal relationship had deepened, they maintained appropriate boundaries in professional settings. The community knew of their connection. Such things were impossible to hide, but they'd earned respect through transparency and genuine commitment to the project's mission, Miss Wilson. Ethan replied with equal formality. The Foundation is deeply interested in the operational data you've been collecting. Your success here will inform our approach to similar projects nationwide. The tour proceeded through the completed facilities, with Maya highlighting both achievements and challenges. The visiting officials asked pointed questions about costs, sustainability, and outcomes, all of which she addressed with data-driven responses and practical insights. Our occupancy rate is 97%, she explained as they walked through a residential building. Residents contribute based on income, with a pathway to eventual ownership through sweat equity and community participation. And the health outcomes? Asked a task force member. Dr. Rivera can address those specifically, but our preliminary data shows significant improvements. Chronic conditions better managed, preventive care increasing, emergency room visits decreasing. As they continued to the next building, Noah appeared with a group of younger children trailing behind him. Mom, he called, then caught himself, shifting to a more professional tone. Ms. Wilson, we've finished the community center model for the visitors. Should we set it up in the conference room? Yes, thank you, Noah, Maya replied, pride evident despite her professional demeanor. At 11, Noah had grown taller, his serious expression now occasionally broken by genuine smiles. His role as a junior design consultant had given him confidence and purpose, while his natural leadership abilities emerged as he mentored younger children interested in architecture and design. The group followed him to the conference room where an elaborate model displayed the entire development, completed buildings, those under construction, and planned future phases. Noah presented the design concepts with remarkable poise for his age, explaining how resident feedback had informed adjustments to the original plans. The circular design creates natural gathering spaces, he explained, echoing his original insight. That had influenced the entire project. But we found residents also needed more private areas for quiet activities. So we've incorporated these smaller nooks in the next phase buildings. After the tour concluded and the officials departed, Maya found Ethan in the garden where Lily was conducting her own tour for residents interested in joining the gardening program. These plants attract butterflies, the 9-year-old explained enthusiastically, her previous shyness replaced by confident expertise. And these vegetables grow well in containers if you don't have much space. She's becoming quite the botanist, Ethan observed as Maya joined him. Among other things, her teacher says she has a gift for bringing people together. The garden club was her idea, getting residents from different backgrounds working side by side. They watched as Lily demonstrated proper watering techniques to an elderly resident and a young single father, both following her instructions with serious attention. The board was impressed, Maya said, changing subjects. They're considering adopting our model for the citywide housing initiative, as they should. The data speaks for itself. Lower costs, better outcomes, sustainable operations, none of which would have been possible without the foundation's support. Ethan shook his head. The foundation provided capital. You and the community provided the vision and implementation. A comfortable silence fell between them as they observed the garden activities. 6 months had changed so much, not just the physical landscape, but the human connections that now defined this space. Will you join us for dinner tonight? Maya asked. Mrs. Chen is making her famous dumplings. The children have been asking when you'll visit again. I'd like that, Ethan replied. I have foundation business until 6, but after that, perfect. Our place at 7. Maya and the children had moved from the temporary apartment to one of the new units in the development, a modest 3-bedroom that she insisted be no different from those available to other residents. Her position entitled her to certain benefits, but she'd been adamant about experiencing the community as residents did, to better understand and address any issues that arose. That evening, Ethan arrived with a small gift for each child, a professional drafting kit for Noah and rare seeds for Lily's garden. Mrs. Chen, who now split her time between Ethan's mansion and helping at the community center, greeted him with familiar scolding about his workload. Too thin, she declared, poking his ribs. Too many meetings, not enough meals. I've been eating, Ethan protested. Airport food and coffee. Mrs. Chen sniffed disapprovingly. Sit. Real food now. Dinner with Maya and her children had become a cherished routine, an anchor of normalcy, in Ethan's still evolving life. Tonight was especially lively, with Noah excited about the City Planning Commission's interest in his designs, and Lily bubbling with news about her garden club's expansion. We're going to grow food for the community kitchen, she announced proudly. Ms. Rivera says we might grow enough vegetables to feed 20 families. That's wonderful, Ethan encouraged. Have you considered berry bushes? They produce for years. Once established, already ordered, Lily confirmed. And apple trees for the north corner. After dinner, while the children worked on their respective projects in their rooms, Maya and Ethan sat on her small balcony overlooking the community courtyard. The evening air carried the sounds of residents enjoying the shared space. Children playing, conversations flowing, music from someone's portable speaker. It's working, Maya said softly. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but it's working. Yes, Ethan agreed. And not just the physical structures, the community itself is taking root. The foundation board mentioned expansion plans. 3 more cities? Ethan nodded. Detroit, New Orleans, and Phoenix to start. Each with local partners, each adapted to specific community needs. Will you be traveling more then? Some, he acknowledged, but with Sophia managing operations and Gregory handling legal aspects, I can maintain a home base here. Maya turned to study his face in the fading light. And is that what you want? To stay anchored here? The question carried weight beyond professional considerations, and they both knew it. Their relationship had progressed deliberately, cautiously, each aware of the complex circumstances that had brought them together and the responsibilities they both carried. Yes, Ethan said simply, my work with the foundation matters deeply to me. But what's happened here? He gestured toward the courtyard below where residents gathered in the early evening light. And what's happened with us? That's become the center of my life. Maya's hand found his on the railing. The children ask about you, you know, when you're not here. Noah pretends it's about project questions, but Lily is more direct. She asked me yesterday if you were going to be part of our family, and what did you tell her? That relationships between adults are complicated. That we're taking things slowly, making sure we're building something solid. Ethan turned his hand to clasp hers. Wise answer, but not very satisfying to a 9-year-old who sees things in simpler terms. Inside, they could hear Lily humming. As she worked on a new garden design, Noah's deeper voice occasionally calling out a question about a measurement or calculation. They've healed so much, Maya said softly. From their father's death, from our time on the streets, they're becoming who they were meant to be, not defined by trauma or loss. As have you, Ethan observed, as have we all, she corrected gently. In the courtyard below, someone had started a small fire in one of the communal pits. Residents gathered around it, sharing stories and laughter. The buildings surrounding them, once just ambitious renderings, now sheltered hundreds who had previously lacked stable housing. The foundation board wants to establish an educational trust, Ethan said after a comfortable silence, for children in our communities who show particular promise or passion in fields that could benefit similar developments. Noah's architectural talent and Lily's environmental design would certainly qualify. Maya smiled. They'd be thrilled, though Noah would probably insist on earning it through merit, not connection. He already has, Ethan assured her. His designs speak for themselves. As darkness fell completely, the courtyard lights illuminated the gathering below, creating a warm glow that reached up to their balcony. Inside, the children had moved to the living room, their voices carrying through the open door. I should go, Ethan said reluctantly. Early foundation meeting tomorrow. Maya walked him to the door, where they found Noah and Lily, deep in discussion over a large sheet of paper spread across the coffee table. Leaving already? Lily asked, disappointment clear in her voice. Work tomorrow, Ethan explained, but I'll be back for the community center ribbon cutting on Saturday. You have to be, Noah said seriously. You're giving a speech, am I? Mom said so. About how communities can transform neighborhoods. Ethan glanced at Maya, who shrugged. Innocently. The organizing committee requested you specifically. Something about the founder's perspective. Then I'll be there, Ethan promised, with a proper speech prepared. As he prepared to leave, Lily ran to give him a hug, a spontaneous gesture that had become her custom. Noah, still more reserved but increasingly comfortable, offered a fist bump. I left some notes on your design, Ethan told him. Nothing major. It's excellent work. Just a few thoughts about the acoustic properties of circular spaces. Noah nodded seriously. I'll review them tomorrow. Thanks. At the door, Maya walked out into the hallway with Ethan, allowing a moment of privacy. Thank you for dinner, he said. And for everything, really. You've said that before, she reminded him with a smile. It's time to stop thanking each other and just accept that we're building this together. Whatever this is. Fair point, he conceded, though I suspect this is becoming clearer with each passing month. Their goodbye was brief but tender. A kiss that held promise of deeper connection, yet respected the careful pace they'd established. As Ethan drove back to his mansion, a space that felt increasingly empty despite its grandeur, he reflected on the transformation of the past year, from a lonely billionaire haunted by guilt to a man finding purpose not just in philanthropy, but in genuine connection. The Michael Parker Foundation was thriving, expanding its model to other cities, influencing housing policy nationwide. But it was the personal changes that struck Ethan most profoundly, the way Maya and her children had opened their lives to him, the way Mrs. Chen now scolded him with affection rather than concern, the way he had learned to value relationships above acquisitions, and most surprising of all, the way Michael's memory had transformed from a source of paralyzing guilt to an inspiration for meaningful action. The cemetery was quiet in the early morning light, dew still clinging to the grass. As Ethan made his way along the familiar path, after 15 years of avoiding this place, the past year had seen him return several times, each visit less painful than the last. Though never easy, Michael's grave was simple, a granite headstone with his name, dates, and the words, "Beloved Brother," etched beneath. Ethan placed a small bunch of wildflowers. Lily had insisted on gathering them from her garden specifically for this purpose, and sat on the bench he'd had installed during his last visit. "Hello, Michael," he said softly. "It's April 18th again, 16 years since his brother's death. The anniversary that had once driven Ethan into isolation and self-destructive guilt now brought him here instead, to face the past directly, rather than hide from it. A lot has happened since I last visited, he continued, feeling only slightly self-conscious about speaking aloud. The Westside Project is thriving. The foundation has launched similar initiatives in 3 more cities. People who were living under bridges like you were, they have homes now. Healthcare. Community. A light breeze rustled the trees surrounding the small cemetery, creating a gentle backdrop to his words. I wish you could see it, Ethan said. I think you'd be proud of how your name is being used. At least I hope you would. He fell silent. Memories of Michael washing over him, not just the painful final years of addiction and estrangement, but earlier times too. Michael's infectious laugh, his creativity, his kindness to strangers. Even as a child, I understand. Better now? Ethan continued after a while. About addiction, about recovery, about how complex healing can be. The clinic at Westside has a specialized program for substance abuse treatment. The director says relapse is often part of the journey, not the end of it. That knowledge brought both comfort and renewed grief. The realization that Michael's fatal overdose might not have been inevitable if he'd had proper support. If Ethan had understood more, responded differently. I missed your calls that day, Ethan said, addressing directly what had haunted him for years. I was busy with a deal that seemed so important at the time. So important that I couldn't spare 5 minutes for my brother. His voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on. I've spent 16 years punishing myself for that choice, believing that if I'd answered, you might still be alive. And maybe that's true. Maybe it isn't. But I finally realized that continuing to destroy myself with guilt doesn't honor your memory. It just creates more loss. The sun climbed higher, warming Ethan's face as he sat in contemplation. So much had changed in the past year, his perspective, his priorities, his understanding of what truly mattered. I met someone, he said after a long silence. Her name is Maya. She has 2 children, Noah and Lily. They've changed everything, Michael. Reminded me how to be part of a family. Again. Talking about Maya and the children came easily. Stories flowing about Noah's architectural talents, Lily's gardens, their gradual acceptance of him in their lives. Maya understands loss, Ethan explained. Her husband died, leaving her to raise the children alone. She ended up homeless for a while. That's how we met. She was helping her kids with homework under an overpass near the Westside property. A familiar voice interrupted his solitary conversation, and he stopped his car because something about us reminded him of his own past. Ethan turned to find Maya approaching along the cemetery path, her expression gentle. I hope you don't mind, she said, joining him on the bench. Mrs. Chen told me where you'd gone. I thought you might want company today. Thank you, Ethan said simply, grateful for her presence. Maya studied Michael's headstone, reading the dates that marked a life ended far too soon. What was he like, beyond what you've told me? Ethan considered the question. Brilliant, creative, could charm anyone, teachers, neighbors, strangers on the street. Had this ability to see the best in people even when they couldn't see it themselves. Sounds a bit like you, Maya observed. No, Ethan shook his head. I was always the serious one. Practical. Focused. Michael was light where I was shadow. Spontaneous where I was calculated. And after your parents died, I became even more serious, determined to be both brother and parent, provider and protector. Ethan sighed. I thought financial security was what we needed most. I worked constantly, took business classes at night, networked relentlessly. While Michael was processing his grief differently, Maya surmised. Yes, he started acting out. Struggling in school, I interpreted it as rebellion and gratitude. I didn't recognize the pain underneath. Ethan's hands tightened in his lap. By the time I realized he was using drugs to numb that pain, the pattern was deeply established. Maya's hand covered his. You were young yourself, barely more than a child. Old enough to know better, Ethan countered. Old enough to see beyond my own ambitions. Perhaps, Maya acknowledged. But beating yourself up about it accomplishes nothing. Trust me, I've walked that path too. They sat in companionable silence, the morning gradually warming around them. Noah asked about you yesterday, Maya said finally. About why this date is difficult for you. I explained in age-appropriate terms. How did he respond? With typical Noah insight. He said it made sense now why you connected with our family, why you understand what it means to lose someone. Ethan nodded. He's remarkably perceptive. He also said, Maya hesitated, that he's glad you found us, that maybe we all needed each other, wise beyond his years. Ethan murmured. He wants to meet Michael, Maya continued. Both children do. I told them that wasn't physically possible, but Noah suggested coming here sometime. Lily immediately started planning which flowers would be most appropriate for a grave. Ethan felt unexpected emotion tighten his throat. I'd like that. I think Michael would too. There's something else, Maya said, reaching into her bag. Noah made this for you. She handed Ethan a carefully wrapped package. Inside was a framed architectural drawing, a concept for a memorial garden to be incorporated into the Westside Community Center. The Michael Parker Memorial Garden, Ethan read from the simple plaque depicted in the corner of the design. Layout showed a peaceful space with curved pathways, seating areas, and native plantings. Lily helped with the plant selections, Maya explained. Noah wanted a place where people could find peace, reflect, remember those they've lost. It's beautiful, Ethan said, genuinely moved. Truly beautiful. Noah says gardens help heal people, but monuments help heal communities. The collective acknowledgement of loss and resilience. Ethan studied the design more closely. The circular pattern. It's like his community center design. Yes. He said circles represent continuity, connection. No beginning or end. The symbolism wasn't lost on Ethan, the way Maya and her children had helped transform his guilt into purpose. His isolation into connection. A circle indeed, closing wounds that had seemed permanently open. Will you join us for lunch? Maya asked after they'd sat in peaceful silence for a while longer. The children are helping Mrs. Chen prepare a picnic. They thought we could eat in the park near the community center. I'd like that, Ethan replied. Just give me a few more minutes here. Of course. Maya squeezed his hand gently before standing. Take all the time you need. We'll be waiting when you're ready. After she departed, Ethan turned back to his, brother's grave, the architectural drawing still in his hands. I think you would have liked them, Michael, he said softly. Maya's strength, Noah's seriousness, Lily's joyfulness. They've taught me so much about healing, about second chances. The breeze picked up slightly, rustling the wildflowers Lily had gathered. I can't change what happened 16 years ago. I can't go back and answer those calls, but I can try to live differently now, to be the kind of brother, the kind of man you would have been proud of. Ethan placed his hand briefly on the cool granite of the headstone. I'm trying to forgive myself, Michael. It's harder than forgiving anyone else ever was, but I think I'm finally getting there. As he stood to leave, an unexpected lightness filled him, not the absence of grief, but the presence of something stronger, something that felt, after so many years of darkness, remarkably like peace. The park near the West Side development had transformed along with the surrounding neighborhood. Once neglected and rarely used, it now bustled with activity. Children on the playgrounds, seniors on the benches, community members of all ages enjoying the green space. Ethan found Maya and the children setting up their picnic under a large oak tree. Lily spotted him first, waving enthusiastically. Mr. Ethan, did you like Noah's garden design? I picked all the plants. They're native species that attract butterflies and birds, and let him breathe, Lily, Noah interrupted, though his expression revealed his own eagerness for Ethan's opinion. It's extraordinary, Ethan assured them both, sitting on the blanket Mrs. Chen had meticulously arranged. Truly thoughtful and beautiful. I'd be honored if the community board approves it. Mom already showed it to Dr. Rivera and Marcus. Noah informed him. They're presenting it at next week's meeting. The casual confidence in the boy's voice, so different from the suspicious, protective child Ethan had first met under the overpass, warmed something deep inside him. Mrs. Chen distributed plates of food with her usual efficiency, muttering about outdoor eating being uncivilized but necessary for proper celebration. Celebration? Ethan questioned. Of remembrance, she clarified. In my country, we honor ancestors with food, with gathering, not just with sadness. As they ate, Lily regaled them with stories about her garden club's latest projects, while Noah occasionally interjected with practical considerations about irrigation systems and seasonal planning. Oh, Lily exclaimed suddenly. I almost forgot. We saw Mr. Mills yesterday. Ethan's eyebrows rose in surprise. Hunter Mills? Where? At the community center, Noah explained. He was talking to the construction manager about the expansion. Maya nodded confirmation. He's been consulting on the next phase. Seems he's taken your suggestion about community service seriously, though he'd never admit it. That's Unexpected, Ethan acknowledged. People can change, Maya said simply, echoing words Ethan had once spoken to Hunter himself. After lunch, as Mrs. Chen supervised the children collecting their belongings, Maya and Ethan walked a short distance away, pausing at the edge of the park that overlooked the West Side development. "How are you feeling?" she asked gently. "These anniversary days can be unpredictable." Ethan considered the question seriously. "Different," he said finally. "For 15 years, this day has been about guilt and regret, about what I didn't do, what I couldn't change. And today feels more like honoring Michael, recognizing what was lost but also what remains, what can still be built." Maya nodded, understanding. That's how healing works. Not erasing the pain, but making room for something beside it. Ethan turned to face her fully. "I couldn't have reached this place without you, without Noah and Lily." "I think you would have found your way eventually," Maya replied, "but I'm glad we could walk part of the path with you." From the picnic blanket, Lily called out, wanting to show them a butterfly that had landed nearby. As they walked back to join the children, Ethan felt Michael's presence not as a ghost of guilt but as a quiet reminder of connection, of the possibility of redemption. "Will you come to dinner tonight?" Maya asked as they gathered their things. "The children want to help plan the memorial garden in more detail." "I'd like that," Ethan said, watching Noah carefully fold the picnic blanket while Lily collected wildflowers along the path. "Very much." As they made their way back toward the West Side development, the place where their unlikely journey together had begun, Ethan realized that forgiveness, like healing, wasn't a destination but a process. One that would likely continue for years to come, but for the first time since that fateful April day 16 years ago, he was moving forward rather than looking back, and he wasn't walking alone. 1 year later, the Michael Parker Memorial Garden bloomed with spring flowers, native species carefully selected by Lily and planted by community volunteers. The circular space, nestled at the heart of the expanded West Side development, had become a place of quiet reflection and unexpected healing for residents and visitors alike. Ethan sat on one of the stone benches, watching people move through the pathways. Some paused to read the educational plaques about native plants, others to sit in contemplation by the small reflection pool at the garden's center. A few stopped at the simple monument bearing Michael's name and the words that had become the foundation's motto: "Every life deserves dignity, connection, and second chances." From his vantage point, Ethan could see much of the development that had grown beyond all initial expectations. The original housing units were now complemented by 2 additional residential buildings. The health clinic had expanded to include a full dental facility and mental health services. The community center, designed around Noah's visionary circular concept, hosted educational programs, job training, art classes, and community gatherings. Most remarkably, similar developments had begun to take shape in 5 other cities across the country, each adapted to local needs but following the core model pioneered here: integrated services, community ownership, and sustainable operations. "Admiring your handiwork?" Hunter Mills asked, approaching with less hostility than such an encounter would have provoked 2 years earlier. "Community handiwork," Ethan corrected, gesturing for Hunter to join him. "How's the Phoenix project coming along?" After his legal issues had been resolved, Hunter had surprised everyone by accepting a consulting role with the foundation, focusing on construction efficiency and sustainable building practices. The partnership remained somewhat tense but undeniably productive. "On schedule and under budget," Hunter replied with professional pride. "The desert climate presents challenges, but we've incorporated some innovative cooling systems that should reduce energy costs by 30%. "Send the specifications to the New Orleans team," Ethan suggested. "They're struggling with cooling costs and the humidity." Hunter nodded, making a note on his phone. "Will do. The city council there has approved the zoning changes, by the way. We can break ground next month if funding is secured." "It is," Ethan confirmed. "The foundation board approved it yesterday." They sat in what had become a surprisingly comfortable collegiality. Not friendship exactly, but a mutual respect born of shared purpose despite their complicated history. "Never thought I'd be building affordable housing instead of luxury condos," Hunter admitted after a while. "Certainly never thought I'd find it more satisfying." "Life takes unexpected turns," Ethan agreed. As Hunter departed for his next meeting, Maya emerged from the community center where she'd been conducting training for staff from the new Detroit project. In the 2 years since their first meeting under the overpass, She had grown into her role as the Foundation's Director of Community Integration, traveling regularly to help establish new developments based on the West Side model. Hunter looked almost pleasant, she observed, joining Ethan on the bench. Apocalypse must be near. Ethan smiled. He's actually proving invaluable for the expansion projects. His expertise in construction management is saving millions. Who would have thought? Maya mused. The man who once tried to destroy everything we built is now helping us build more. People contain multitudes, Ethan replied. Something I've learned repeatedly these past 2 years. Maya's hand found his, their fingers intertwining with the easy familiarity of a relationship that had deepened gradually but steadily. The gold band on her finger caught the sunlight, still new enough that she sometimes looked at it with wonder. Their wedding 3 months earlier had been a community celebration, held in the courtyard of the West Side development. Residents had insisted on contributing, food prepared in the community kitchen, music from local musicians, flowers from Lily's gardens. Mrs. Chen had orchestrated everything with military precision while pretending not to cry during the ceremony. Noah's school called, Maya said. He won the regional architecture competition. His design for affordable senior housing is being forwarded to the national level. That's wonderful, Ethan replied, genuine pride warming his voice. Did you tell him? Not yet. I thought we could share the news at dinner tonight. Lily has an announcement too. Her school science project on urban pollinator gardens was selected for the state exhibition. We should celebrate, Ethan suggested. Perhaps that Italian restaurant they both like? Maya nodded agreement, then paused as a young woman approached them hesitantly, a small child clinging to her hand. Excuse me, the woman said. Are you Mr. Parker? From the Foundation? Yes, Ethan acknowledged, rising to greet her properly. I'm Jenny, she introduced herself. This is my son, Tyler. We just moved into the new building last week. I wanted to thank you personally. Ethan shook her hand warmly. Maya Wilson Parker is the one you should thank. She's the heart of this project. Jenny turned to Maya with equal gratitude. We were living in my car for 8 months before we got approved for housing here. Tyler's asthma was getting worse. I couldn't keep a job without a stable address. Her voice cracked slightly. This place has already changed our lives. That's exactly why we're here, Maya assured her. Have you connected with the health clinic for Tyler's asthma? Yes, we have an appointment tomorrow. And I'm starting job training next week. They even have childcare during the classes. Excellent, Ethan said. If you need anything at all, the community support team is there to help. This isn't just housing, it's a community. As Jenny and Tyler continued toward the playground, Maya squeezed Ethan's hand. That never gets old, does it? Seeing the actual impact. Never, Ethan agreed. They walked together through the garden, past the central monument, toward the community center where they were scheduled to meet with representatives from a foundation interested in replicating their model in rural communities. Near the entrance, they encountered Lily, leading a group of younger children on a garden tour. At 10, she had blossomed into a confident, joyful girl whose passion for nature had only deepened with time. And these flowers attract monarch butterflies, she was explaining. They're endangered because they don't have enough places to live and eat, just like some people don't. That's why we make sure everyone has a home here. Butterflies, bees, birds, and people too. The children listened with rapt attention as Lily continued her lesson, completely in her element among the plants she had helped select and nurture. Mom, Ethan, she called, spotting them. Come tell the garden club about the new butterflies we saw yesterday. In a moment, sweetheart, Maya promised. We need to check on Noah first. They found him in the design studio that had been established within the community center, a space where residents could learn drafting, architecture, and design skills under the mentorship of professional architects who volunteered their time. At 12, Noah was already showing remarkable talent. His drawings were displayed alongside those of adult students, his serious approach to his craft earning respect from professionals twice his age. Currently, he was helping an elderly resident design modifications to make her apartment more accessible as her mobility decreased. If we widen this doorway and install a grab bar here, he was explaining, you'll be able to navigate more safely with your walker. The woman nodded appreciatively. And it won't look institutional. I don't want my home to feel like a hospital. Not at all, Noah assured her. We'll integrate the modifications with your existing decor. Function and aesthetics can work together. Ethan and Maya exchanged proud glances, not interrupting the consultation. They would catch up with Noah later. Let him complete his work with the dignity and respect he'd earned. Outside the community center, the development hummed with activity. Residents tending the community gardens, children playing in safe designated areas, people coming and going from the health clinic and educational facilities. What had once been empty land, then a contested property, had become a thriving ecosystem of mutual support and opportunity. The board wants to name the next project after you, Maya mentioned as they walked toward their car. The Ethan Parker community in Detroit. Ethan shook his head firmly. No, each development should reflect its own community, its own local heroes. Besides, we agreed. No ego, no monuments to ourselves. I told them you'd say that. Maya smiled, just checking to make sure fame hasn't gone to your head. As they prepared to drive to their next meeting, a small boy about 5 years old came running across the courtyard, a toy car clutched in his hand. He crashed into Ethan's legs, looking up with an apologetic smile. Sorry, mister. Ethan knelt to the child's level. That's quite all right. That's a nice car you have there. The boy held up his treasure, a small red car, similar to the one Michael had carried everywhere as a child. My grandpa gave it to me. He says cars can take you anywhere you want to go. Your grandpa is very wise. Ethan replied, a bittersweet pang of memory mixing with present joy. Tommy, a woman called from across the courtyard. Time for lunch? Sweetheart? The boy waved goodbye and raced back toward his mother, the toy car leading the way through imaginary streets. Maya slipped her arm through Ethan's as they watched him go. You okay? Yes, Ethan said and meant it. Just remembering. Michael? He had a car just like that. Carried it everywhere until he was much too old for toys. Ethan smiled at the memory. Used to say it represented freedom, possibility. Sounds like he was wise beyond his years too, Maya observed gently. He was, Ethan agreed. I think he would have loved what this place has become, what we've all become.